And ladies and gentlemen, I make it 11 o'clock, so we're going to start here with this lovely 1972, the Rover P6. Absolutely love this car. Looks great indeed. I believe we got a telephone as well. See the telephone's connected. Let's start the bidding here on the Rover with me, straight in at £3,000. Say 3-2 next. At 3,000, 3,000. 200 if you're coming in. At 3,000 here. At £3,000 is the bid now, 3,000. 3-2, thank you, sir. At 3,002. Gentleman's bid in the floor. At 3,002. 3-4's in online. 3-6. 3-6 bid. At £3,600 we're bid. 3-8. At 3,008 in the middle of the room. Would you like 4? 4,000. At 4,000 left-handed. 4-2, sir. 4-2. 4-4. Out here at 4,002 in the middle of the room. At 4,002, say 4-4 if anyone's coming in. At 4,002. At £4,200. Gentleman's bid. 4-4's in online against you. At 4,004. At 4,004, coming back in for 4-6. At £4,400, the bid is here online. At 4,000, 4,004, 4-6, gentleman's back in. At £4,600. At 4-6, online, would you like to go 4-8? At 4,008, back in online, thanking you. Local bidder there in Cheshire at 4,008. Anyone for 5? At £4,800 is the bid now. At 4,008. At 4,800 we are bid. At 4,008, would you like 5, sir? Coming back in for one more. At 4,005 on the telephone, thank you, see you there. At 5,000, Damien's telephone now. At £5,000 we are bid. Say 5-2 if you're coming back in online or anywhere else. At 5,000, 5,000. Are we finished? Are we done? It's on the telephone at £5,000. Last chance. Fair warning, online bidder, would you like to go again? At 5,000, once, twice. Finished and done then. First lot of the day here at £5,000. With your bidder on the telephone, Damien. 5,000, that is a provisional bid. Do we have the paddle number? I'll just pick telephone. There we go, we'll sort it out. Moving on down we go to lot number 202 is the 1999 Rover Mini, the 1.3 MPI, this one. Only showing 39,000 miles on the clock. Lots of information on this one online for you guys, there we go. I've got lots of commission bids on this one. Not gonna mess around, gonna go 4.5. £5,000 is my bid, and we're straight in the market now at £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000. We'll say 5-5 next if we can. At £5,000. All right, 5-2. We'll go 5-2. Is that 5-2 online? 5-2. 5-4 back to me, though. Welcome in Texas, by the way. At 5,004, it's against you now. At 5,004. At 5,400 here. 5-6 is back in. Texas bidder again. At 5,006. I'm going to have to go 5-8, Nick. I'll ask for 5-9 next if we can. 5-8's my bid here. 5-9 next if you're coming back in. At 5,008. At 5,800 is the bid. Texas, would you like to go one more? At 5,008. 5-9. 6,000 is bid. We'll stay in the hundreds now at £6,000 with my commission bid. At £6,000. Anyone for 6-1? At 6,000, 6,000. 6-1 is in. Texas bidder now. I am out on the book. At £6,000, 6-1. At 6,100 is the bid now at 6-1. Anyone else for 6,002? It's going to sell here. At £6,100 and off to the States it's going to go. At 6,001. 6-2 new bidders in. At 6,002 it's with you in Yorkshire now. At 6,002. 6-3 it goes on. At £6,300 is the bid now at 6-3. At 6,300 we are bid. At 6-3, 6-3, are we finishing done here? At 6,300, the hammer's up for the first time here. At 6,003. At 6,300 then once. At 6,300 then twice. Finishing done, off to the... Whoa, 6-4's back in, sneaking in there. At 6,004, Yorkshire bidder 6-5, straight back to America. At 6,005. At 6,500 we are bid. 6-6 is your next bid if you wish to go again. at 6,005. Hammers up, finished and done. Last chance, fair warning. We're selling this time once, twice. Finished and done at £6,500 it goes. Sold at 6,005. To bidder number 5323, is that? Thank you very much there in the States. That's your £6,500 sold your way. Next one we go to lot number 203, 1994 in the year. No reserve today is this Saab 900 SE Turbo. Lovely looking Saab, this one. Where are we going to go? MOT till July as well. I've got £500 on the book with me, so we'll start there at 5. At 500 we're bid. 6 is bid now. At 600 the bid. At 600 a bid now. 600, 600. I'm out on the book. At £600 and 7's bid. At 700, anyone for 8. At 700 is the bid here online. At 700, 700. At £700 is the bid now. At 7 and 800 you're in again. At £800 with the online bid in 9. At 900, 900. Take it to 1,000 if you wish to go again online. At 900, or anyone else in the room wants to come in on this one. At £900 is the bid. At 900, 900, are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning this time at £900 once. Twice. And it sells this time online at £900. Sold at 900, 1958. Thank you very much. Moving down the list we go. Lot number 204. 1981 in the year. It's the Triumph TR7 convertible. Lovely looking Triumph this one is. Start me off. You're in online. Does my commission bid at 3,000 we start. Say 3-2 next. At 3,000, 3-2. 3-2's bid. Anyone for 3-4? 3-4 it goes on. At 3,004. 3-6 is bid. At 3,000, 3,006 with the online bid now at 3,006. 3-8. 3-8's bid. It keeps going online 4. 4's bid now at 4,000. At 4,000 with the online bid here. Anyone else coming in for 2? At 4,000, 4,000. At £4,000 is the bid online at the minute at £4,000. Say 2 if anyone wants to come in. At 4,000, 4,000, 2. See you, sir. Thank you. Busy room today. At 4-2. 4-4's bid online. Would you like 4-6? 4-6, gentleman's bid. 4-8's back in. Take it to 5? 5,000, thank you, good man. At £5,000, 5-2. You're out. At 5,002. At 5,200 is the bid now at 5,002. Coming in for 5-4. Anywhere else online or in the room? At 5,002, 5-4's bid. Cheshire bidder now is with you. At 5,400 we're bidding 5-6. At 5,006. At 5,600 is bid. Hammers in the hand, you know what that means. At 5,006. At 5,006, 5-8's bid. It's going to sell today in the market to be sold. At 5,800 is your bid online. At 5,008, 6,000's bid. At 6,000, 6,000, go to again. At £6,000, we're bid now at 6,000. At 6,000, 6,000. Would anyone else like to come in now? Because the hammer's up and we're selling this time and away it goes. At 6,000 with the online bid once, twice. Finished and done and selling 6-2's bid. At 6,002. At 6,002 is the bid now, 6,004. You're in again, Lanarkshire there. At 6,004. At 6,400 is bid. Would anyone like to go again? At 6,004 is the bid now at 6,004. We go once with the online bid this time and away. At 6,004 twice. Finished and done then. At 6,400 we sell online at £6,400 finished and done. Sold at 6,400. Moving down, we go to lot number 205. 2009 is the Saab, another lovely Saab in today's sale. It's the 9.3 1.8 linear SE convertible. Lovely, lovely Saab indeed. No reserve today, nothing on my book on this one. Showing 72,000 miles on the clock, MOT to November this year. Low ownership on this one. Who's got £1,000 to start? £1,000, surely. Lovely Saab convertible here. £1,000 to kick it off. You're in online. Thank you very much. Our second bidder in the United States is with you in California at £1,000. At 1,000's bid. Say 1,200 if anyone wants to come in. At £1,000 now. At £1,000 is the bid now at 1,000. At £1,000 is the bid now at £1,000. Are we finished and done? It can be sold. It's no reserve. Here to go. I'll take 1,100 if it tempts anyone else in. If not, hammers up. 11's bid at 1100. With you now in Glasgow at 1112. It goes on at 1200 back to California now. At £1,200 is the bid. At 1200. At £1,200 we are bid now at 12. Are we finishing done? With the States bidder at the minute at £1,200. It's your last chance in fair warning and 13 bid. Glasgow, you are back in the lead at 1300. 14 bid at 1400 now. At 1400, say 15 if you wish to go again. At 1400 is the bid now at 14. Would you like to go again, underbidder? 15 you do, thanking you very much there. At 1500, you're in the driving seat now at £1,500. Would you like to go 16? 16 you do, back in, thank you very much there. At 1600 is your bid. At 1600. At £1,600 is the bid now at 16. Are we finishing done? At £1,600, say 17 if you're coming back in. Make it nice and quick for me online. At 1600 once. At 1600 twice. And it sells this 17 bid. At 1700 is the bid now at 17. New bidder with you in Kent. At 1700. At 1700. At 1700, either one of the underbidders, would you like to go again? California says, yes, please. 18's bid. At 1800 is the bid now at 18. At 1800, say 19 if you wish to go again. At 1800, are you finished? Are you done? It's your last chance in fair warning. Now hammers up again at 1800, once, twice, finished and done, and we sell this time, and away it goes at £1,800. Sold at 18, 5691, 5691. Thank you very much there in America. That is yours at £1,800. Moving down, we go to lot number 206. Lot number 206. I love these ones. It's the 2002 Honda S2000. There we go, in the dark silver. This one looks absolutely great. MOT until May 2026, showing about 129,000 miles on the clock. Starting off, I've got several commission bids. You're in at 3, 3-2. 3-4, 3-6, 3-8, £4,000. We start with my commission interest here. At 4,000, say 2 again. At £4,000, say 2 if you're coming in. At 4,000 is the bid now at 4. At 4,000, 4,000 here. At £4,000, anyone for 2. At £4,000 is the bid now at 4,000. Are we finished and done at just £4,000? Surely not. At 4,000's bid. At 4,000, 4,000, 4-2. 4-4 back to me. At 4,004. 4-6. 4-8. I'll have to take 4-9 next if I can. 4-9's in. 5,000 back to me. At £5,000, we'll stay in the hundreds. At 5,000 with my commission interest now. At £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000. Coming in for the 100. At £5,000, are we finished? Are we done? At 5,000, 5,000. It's your last chance in fair warning this time and away then. At £5,000, commission bidder here. At 5,000, once with my commission interest. Twice. Finished and done at £5,000. That is a provisional bid with my bidder, 3050, £5,000. That is provisional. If you are watching online, we will be in touch with you very shortly. And when we say about the provisionals as well, I forgot about some of these from yesterday. Lot number 83, the Yamaha, now sold away. Lot 15, the Suzuki, now sold away. And we got a couple more, but we'll go through them as the sale processes. Right, next one we go to lot number 207, 1976, Triumph Stag, another no reserve. Look at this for a Triumph Stag here, looks great indeed. You're in at 12, 14, 16, 18, 2. 2-2, 2-4, 2-6, 2-8, 3's bid, 3-5, 4, 4-5, £5,000. We start with my commission interest here at £5,000. Got lots of bids on the book on this one at £5,000. Say 5-2 if you're coming in. At 5,000, 5,000. 5-2, I see you. Thank you, sir. 5-2, but I'm going to have to go 5-4. 5-4's back to me. At 5,004. At 5,400 is the bid now at 5,004. Coming in for 5-6. At 5,000, 5,004 is the bid now at 5,004. Are you finished? Are you done? At 5,004, 5-6. Thank you again. It was before you online, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to go 5-8 with me. Can I say 5-9 next? At 5,008, coming in for the 100. 59, 6,000, say 1 again. At £6,000 on the book with me now at £6,000, say 1 if you're coming back in. 6-1, my interest online is out, your bid is in, with you in Hampshire now at 6,100 is bid. At 6,001 with the online bid. Say 6-2 if anyone else wants to come in. At 6,000, 6,100 is the bid now at 6,001. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance. Fair warning. Hammers up, and away we sail with the online bid once, twice, finished and done. It goes this time at £6,100. Sold at 6,001. 15123. Thank you very much there, online bidder. That one is yours. Moving down the list we go. Lot number 208. Lot number 208. Porsche 911. It's the 997 Carrera 2S. There we go. Have a good look at this one. Showing about 97,000 miles. MOT until July 26, and it is advisory 3 as well. There you go. Going to start straight in at £10,000. Say 11 next. At 10, 11. 11's bid. 12's bid with me. Say 13, one more. 13's in. 14's my bid. At 14,000 now. 15's bid online. My interest is out. Your bid online bidder at £15,000. At 15,000, 15,000. We'll go in the 500s from this point. My interest is done. You're in online. 15.5 if anyone else wishes to come in. 15.5 you do. Thank you very much. At 15,005. 16's bid. At 16 is the bid now at £16,000. With you in County Durham at £16,000, the bid is yours. At 16,000, 16,000. At £16,000, we are bid now at 16. 16.5 back in, new bidder there. With you in West Sussex at 16,005. Say 17 if you wish to go again. At 16,005 and 17 bid, thanking you there. At £17,000, the bid is here now at 17. At 17,000, 17,000. At 17,000, we'll take the quarters from this point. It's in the market to be sold. At £17,000, would you like to come in for another 250 anywhere else? At 17,000, 17,000. At £17,000 is the bid now at 17. Are we finished? Are we done? Hammers up. At 17,000, 17,250, you're in. New bidder again, somewhere in the United Kingdom is your bid at £17,250. At 17,250. Next bid needs to be 17.5 if you wish to go again. At 17,250 is the bid now, 17.5. Thank you there, County Durham. You're back in now at 17,005. At 17.5, 17.5, and 17,750 is the bid. At £17,750, the bid is yours here online now. At £17,750, 18 bid. At 18,000, 18,000. At £18,000 is the bid now at 18. Would you like another quarter online? At 18,000, are we finished and done? At 18,000, 18,000. Last chance and fair warning this time then. The hammer's up. At 18,000, 18,000. Once. 250 in and again. At £18,250 is the bid now at 18,250. At 18,250 is the bid with you online at 18,250. At 18,250, are we finished? Are we done? At 18,250, hammers up now at 18,250 and 18.5 back in. 18.5. At 18,500 is the bid. At 18.5, 18.5. Would you like to go again? At 18,500, are you finished? Are you done? At 18,005. 18,750, thanking you. At 18,750 is the bid. At 18,750. At 18,750, would you like 19? At 18,750 then. Last chance, fair warning, finished and done this time. Hammers up. Once with you online at 18,750. Twice, finished and done. I sell this time then, make no mistake, at 18,750. Sold 18,750. 446. That is your bid online. Thank you very much. Sold your way. Moving on to lot number 209. 1996 in the year is this lovely Mercedes-Benz 250 SL. It's the right-hand drive one there, to the right of the rostrum. Have a good look at this car. An impressive car it is, and we're lucky enough not to have one, but to have two of them in this sale as well. I'm going to go straight in with my interest at £30,000. Say 32 next if we can. At 30,000, 30,000, 32, 32, 34. At 34,000 now. At 34, 34. At £34,000 is the bid now at 34. Say 36 if you wish to go again. At £34,000 we are bid. At 34, 34. At 34,000 are we finished and done? I'll take 35. 36. Okay. 36,000. We'll say 37 next. My interest is out now. At 36,000 with the online bid. 37 if anyone else wishes to come in. At £36,000. At 36, 36. At £36,000 is the bid now at 36. Are we finished and done here at just £36,000? Would you like to go 37? At 36,000. At 36, 36. Are we finished? Are we done? It's your last chance in fair warning then. At £36,000 once with the online bid. At 36,000 now twice with the online bid. We're going to submit, so make sure you're at the front of the queue if you wish to come in on this one at £36,000, all finished, all done with the online bid and away at £36,000. That is a provisional bid with you online at £36,000, and that is 1040. 1040 at £36,000 provisionally. Moving on to lot number 210, the first one of the day that I'm going to go. Over to you, Steve.
Tom, at a time when car companies seem to have forgotten their history and indeed are doing the best to trash their reputation, let's go back just 20 years or so when they knew better, and the Ford Motor Company built this fast, comfortable, elegant Mustang GT. 4.6 litres and 32 valves of Detroit iron, putting out 300 brake horsepower. You might just have noticed in wear that this car also benefits from the rare Tremec 5-speed gearbox. Now, those 5-spoke wheels are very reminiscent of those on the Highland Green fastback Mustang that Steve McQueen drove in the film Bullet. But forget the rather rough-hewn charms of the San Francisco cop and instead think of the multimillionaire playboy Thomas Crown. Yes, buy this beautifully maintained car with just 27,000 miles on it, and you too could be a Temu Thomas Crown.
There we go, look at that one there. We're going to go straight in on the Mustang GT this time. 5,000's in online. I've got loads of bids on this one. We're going to go 5,500, 6,000, 6,500, £7,000 we start. Say 5 again. 7,500's bid. My commission interest is out now at 7,500. Say 8,000 anywhere else. At 7,500 at 8's bid. 8,000 in the floor. 8,500's back in online. At 8,500 and £9,000 is the bid. At 9,000, 9,000. Say 5 anywhere else. 9,500's in. At 9,500 and £10,000 is against you online. 10,500's bid. At 10,500 and 11 bid now 11. At £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000. We'll take the quarters now, we shouldn't need to. At £11,000, coming back in online or on the phones. At £11,000. Stallion bidding for the Mustang here. At £11,000 is the bid with you still, sir. At 11,000, 11,000. Are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning this time then. At £11,000. Oh, 11,250. 11,500. Thank you again. Fast bidding there at 11,500. Appreciate it, sir. At 11,500. Are you out on the telephones? They're walking away. At 11,500, we look for you now online. At 11,500, on sale. And it goes. At 11,500 once. At 11,500 twice. Online, last chance fair warning. Yours, 11,500. Thank you very much. What was your paddle number there? The paddle. What was the number on the paddle? 229. Thank you. Cheers. Much appreciated. Moving on to lot number 211. Lot number 211, 1998 in the year, the BMW 328i. Have a good look at this one. Love this one there. Looks great in that sort of burgundy maroon colour. We're going to go straight in with my interest. You're in at 3, 3,500, £4,000 is my bid. 4,500 now. 5,000 back to my commission bidder at £5,000. We'll say 5-2 next if anyone wishes to bid from this point. At £5,000. 5-2. 5-4 back to me. At 5,004. At 5,400 is the bid. Say 5-6 anywhere else. At 5,004. At 5,400, we're bid now at 5,004. 5-6 if you're coming in. 5-6. 5-8. I'm going to have to go £6,000 with my interest here at £6,000. Say 6-2 next. At £6,000. It's in the market from this point at £6,000 is here to be sold. At 6,000, 6,000. 6-2. I'm going to go 6-3, and I'll take 6-4. At 6,003. At 6,300, we're bid. At 6,300, the bid is against you online. 6-4, you're in. 6-5 is back to me. At 6,005, online bidder, one more might do it. At 6,005. At 6,000, 6,005, we're bid. 6-6, you're in the hot seat now. I'm out, you're in. At £6,600 is the bid now with you in Hampshire. At 6,006. At 6,006, anyone else for 6-7? At 6,600, we are bid. At 6,006. Finished and done then, last chance and fair warning. I'm going to sell with the online bid. The hammer's up and away it goes. Once at £6,600, twice. Finished and done then at £6,600. Yours online, £6,600. 19257. Moving on to lot number 212, 1998 Alfa Romeo 156. It's the 2.5 V6 this time, showing only 31,000 miles on the clock and MOT till July 26. I've got several bids. You're in at 3. I'm going to go 3.5, 4, 4.5, £5,000. We're straight on sale in the market now. At £5,000 we start. At 5,000's bid. Say 5-5 if anyone wants to come in. At £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. 5-5 bid. I'm going to have to go 6. At £6,000. We'll go in the quarters from this point. 250, one more. At 6,000 is the bid. Would you like to go 6, 250? At 6,000, 6,000. 250 you do. 6-5 back to me. At 6,005, it's against you online. The bid is here on the book. At 6,005, in the market to be sold today. At 6,005, 6,750. 7,000's back in. At £7,000. At 7,000, 7,000. At £7,000 is the bid now at 7. At 7,000 is the bid now at £7,000. I'll say 7-1 if anyone wishes to bid. At £7,000 is gonna sell, so make no mistake here. At 7,000, 7,000. The hammer's up now. 7-1. 7-1. 4. What have I got to do here? 7-1. I'm going to go 7-2, 7-3. I need to see 7-4 to continue. At 7,003. At 7,300 is the bid with me on the book here at 7,003. Anyone else for 7,004? At 7,003 online bid. Are you coming back in? Has my double bid scared you off? At 7,003. At 7,000, 7,003, we're bid now at 7,003. Finished and done, last chance, fair warning, this time I sell with the commission bid. 7-4's in, I'm out, online bid at 7,004. At 7,000, 7,400, we're bid. At 7,004 is the bid now at 7,004. Anyone else for 7.5? If not, hammers up and away it sells. At 7,004 with the online bid for the first time. For the second time, hammers up and away it goes at £7,400. Sold your way. Thank you very much. Online bidder 8114. 8114, £7,400. Thanking you very much. Moving on to lot number 213, 1989. It's the TVR S2 there in the British racing green. Looks fantastic indeed. I'm in at 2, 2.5. You're in at 3. 3,000. We'll say 3-2 next. At £3,000 we've started. At 3,000, 3,000. Lovely TVR here. 3-2. 3,002. 3-4's bid. Online bid now at 3,006. Only showing 36,000 miles as well. At 3,006. 3,008, bidder now in 3,008. Your bid now at 3,008. Say 4 if anyone else wants to come in here. 4's bid is gone on. Is with you in Tyne and Wear at £4,000. At 4,000, 4,000. Say 2 if anyone else wants to come in now. At 4,002. Manchester bidders in. At 4,200 were bid. At 4,000, 4,002. 4,400. At 4,400. Liverpool bidder this time at 4,004. At 4,000, 4,004. Say 4,600. At 4,400 is the bid now at 4,004. Anyone else coming in for one more? I'll tell you what, I'll take 4,500. Let's go in the £100 bites now. At 4,004, the bid is in Liverpool. 4,500. Back to Manchester now at 4,005. At 4,500 were bid. 4,600. At 4,600 is the bid now at 4,600. At 4,600. At 4,600 we are bid. At 4,600. 4,700. 4,700's bid. Hammers up. It's on sale from the word now at 4,008. At 4,800 pounds is the bid now at 4,008. 4,900 will you? At 4,008. Is your bid online at 4,008? Would anyone else like 4,009? If not, hammers up. 4,900 you do. Thank you, online bid. At 4,009, £5,000 will stay in the hundreds. At £5,000 is the bid. At 5,000, 5,000. Liverpool bidders in the lead at the minute at £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000. 5,100 thanking you at 5,001. At 5,100's your bid now 5,200. Thank you, Nick. At 5,002, the bid's online here at £5,200. Would you like to go 5,300? 5,300 you do. Thanking you. At 5,003 is your bid online. 5,400. Thank you again. At 5,004. Would you like to go 5,500? 5,500's bid. At 5,005 we're bid now at 5,005. At 5,500 is the bid now with you, online bidder. In Manchester, Liverpool's back in 5,600. At 5,006. At 5,600 we're bid. Would anyone like 5,700? At 5,006, are you finished? Are you done? 5,700 you're not. 5,700's bid. Thanking you. At 5,007. 5,800 back in now at 5,008. At 5,800 we're bid. Would you like to go 5,900 bidder? At 5,800, Liverpool bidder you're in. Hammers up. At 5,008. At 5,800 once. At 5,800 twice. I sell, this time, online, at £5,800. Oh, 5,900. Very, very late bid there, Manchester. 5,900, 6,000's bid. You almost missed out. At £6,000. At 6,000, 6,000. Last chance in fair warning then. At £6,000 it's going to go. At 6,000 once. At 6,000 twice. Don't miss it. At £6,000 it's going to go at 6,000. Sold at 6,000.
19465.
Next one, lot number 214. Have a good look at this one. When we say about the three-stage process, this is one that has gone already. Lot number 214, the 2003 Porsche 911 has now sold. Moving on to lot number 215. First of the registrations today then. Look at this one here. Registration 1GNY. There we go. Look at that one. Lovely registration this is. Going to start off with my commission interest. It's a bit low, but just at £2,000 we start. At £2,000, say 2,200 if anyone wishes to bid. 2,200, 2,400, 2,004, 2,600, 2,800's bid. At 2,008, 3,000 you're in. 3,200. At 3,002, 3,400. 3,600, 3,800, 4,000, one more online. 4,200 you're in, I'm out now. At 4,002, with the online bid here at 4,002, would anyone like to go 4,400? At 4,002, 4,400 you do. At 4,004, 4,600, 4,600 is bid. At 4,600, 4,800. At 4,800, 5, I took 5 on the telephone, Nick, just before you online. 5,200, 5,200. 5,400 already. Too slow, I tried. 5,600. 5,800, they're running off online a minute. 5,800, 6,000. 6,200. 6,200. Say 7 on the phones. 6,600. 6,006. 6,800, 7. £7,000. 7,200. I think there's about 4 or 5 online. At 7,002. At 7,400. At 7,004. We're slowing down now with the online bids at 7,004. Seven six, 7,800. At 7,800 we're bid. At 7,008 is the bid now at 7,008. £8,000. 8,200's in. At 8,002. At 8,200 is the bid now at 8,002. At 8,200 are we finished? Are we done? 8,400's bid. It's on sale, so make no mistake when bidding. At 8,004. At 8,004 is the bid now at 8,004. Anyone for 8,600? All finished and done then. Hammers up and away it sells with the online bid. Once at 8,004, twice at 8,400. Finished and done at 8,400 pounds. Sold 8,004. 8,400. 0. Right then, moving on to lot number 216, 2004 Porsche Boxster, the 3.2S. The 3.2S this one is, and it's showing 72,000 miles with an MOT until July 26. You're in, Nick, with you at £3,000. I got several commission bids, so we're going to go we're going twos, 3,2, 3,4, 3,6, 3,8, £4,000, 4,2, 4,4, 4,6, 4,8. I'm bid £5,000 with 2 joint bids, so the bidder that left it first, you're in the lead at £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000, say 2 from anywhere else. 5,2, that saves the argument. At 5,200, you're in online. At 5,002. At 5,002 is the bid now at 5,004. At 5,004, 5,600. At 5,600, North Yorkshire, you're in. At 5,006. At 5,006 is the bid now at 5,006. Anyone for 5,800? At 5,006 is the bid now at 5,006. Are you finished and done? Would you like one more? At 5,008, you're back in now. Wiltshire bidder, a bit more local to me. Welcome. At 5,008 is your bid. At 5,008. At 5,800 is the bid now at 5,800. Underbidder, would you like to go 6? You do indeed. Thank you. At £6,000 is your bid now at 6. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6. Are we finished? Are we done? At 6,002, we're not. 6,002. Wiltshire bidder, you're back in now. At £6,200 is the bid with you. At 6,2. Say 6,4 if the underbidder wishes to come back in. At 6,002, are you finished and done? Hammers up again. At 6,200 once. At 6,200 twice. The bid is with you, online Wiltshire bidder, and selling this time at £6,200. Sold at 6,002. 9846, 6,200. Thanking you very much there, online bidder. Moving down to the next one we go. 1981 in the year. It's the Rolls-Royce Silver Sprite. There we go. Silver Spirit. There we go. Starting off at £34,000. Automatic transmission on this one. MOT exempt as well. Great little classic there. Starting off at 3,000 with your bid online. At 3,002. 3,002's bid. 3,400. At 3,004. 3,600. At 3,006 is the bid now at 3,800. And 3,008 and 4 is back in now at £4,000. Say 2 again. 4,2 you do. At 4,002, 4,400. At 4,400, 4,600. At 4,006 is the bid. 4,800's in. At 4,008 and £5,000 now. All online here at £5,000. Anyone else for 2? At 5,000, 5,000, 5,200. At 5,002, 5,400. At 5,004 is the bid now at 5,600. At 5,006, say 5,800 if you wish to go again. At 5,006, the bid is here online. At £5,600 is the bid now at 5,006. At 5,600, I'll take 5,700. I shouldn't need to, but at 5,006, the bidding seems to have slowed down at 5,600. 5,700, it goes on. At 5,007. At 5,007, anyone for 5,800? 5,800's bid, thanking you again on the Rolls-Royce this time. At 5,800, the bid is here online. At 5,008. At 5,800, would you like to go 5,900? At 5,008. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning then. At 5,800. The bid is here online at 5.8. At 5,008. At 5,800. 5.9. And I've just got a message in that we are on outright sale. It's going to sell at 5,009. At 5.9 and 6,000's back in now 6,000. It's in the market to be sold, so make no mistake when bidding. At £6,000, it's currently with you in Harrow at £6,000. Say 6.1 if you're coming back in. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. Hammers up and selling once. At 6,000 twice. Finished and done. This time it goes at £6,000. Sold at 6,000.
10552.
Thank you very much, Nick. 10552 for £6,000, sold your way. Moving on to lot number 218, 2005 in the year, quite like this one. Myself, Audi TT, it's not just any TT, it's the Quattro Sport there as well. What we got on this one, 69,000 miles on the clock. Looks pretty mean in the black colour there as well. Love the rims on it as well. July till, MOT until July 26. I've got loads of bids on this one. You're in at 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7. We start. Say 7.5 next. At £7,000 on the TT, 7.5 you're in. At 7,005, I'm out. At 7,005, the bid is online. At 7.5, 8's bid, gentleman's bid. At £8,000. At 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. Gentleman's bid here at £8,000. Would anyone else like to go 8.5? 8.5's bid online. 9's back in, thank you, sir. At £9,000. At 9,000, 9,000. Make it 5 if you're coming back in now online. At £9,000. 9.5. At 9.5 and 10's back in, thank you again. At £10,000, gentleman's bid. At 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. At 10,000, we'll take the quarters now. 10,250 if you wish to go again. Gentleman's bid here at 10,000. 10,250. 10.5. 10.5's back in. At 10,005. At 10,500 is the bid now at 10,005. 10,750 and 11 straight back in, thanking you. At 11,000 bid. At 11,000, 11,000. At £11,000 is the bid now at 11. Gentleman's bid here at £11,000. Would anyone like another quarter? At £11,000 is the bid now at 11. At 11,000, 11,000 then once. At £11,000 then twice. Finished and done. At £11,000, gentleman's bid at 11,000. Provisionally with you, 1, 2, 3. We're very close on that one, sir. I was hoping a message would come in to say, but it didn't. 11,000. Provisional. And I'm sure they'll just speak to the guys behind you. I'm sure they'll sort it out. Moving down, let's go. Lot number 219, this time 1991, a Volkswagen Caddy Sport. These look absolutely great. So much character to these things. I absolutely love them. Someone else does. A few people do online. It's gone in 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5. I'm going to have to go 7, 7.5, 8. I'll take 8.5 next. 8.5 and 9's back in with me at £9,000. 9.5, my interest is out now. It's your bid online at 9,005. At 9.5 and 10. At 10,000, 10,000. At £10,000 is the bid now at 10. At 10,000, 10,005. At 10,500 is your bid online here in Yorkshire at the minute at 10,005. At 10,005. It's a dangerous game waving on the balcony, by the way, people. At 10,005. At 10,005. At 10,005 and 11. 11,000 coming in 5. At 11,000, 11,000, 11,000. I'll tell you what, I'll take the quarters from this point. At £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000 are we finished and done then? At £11,000 is your last chance in fair warning. 11,250 back in. At 11,250, 11,250. At 11,250 is the bid now at 11,250. Take 11,5 anywhere else. At 11,250 is the bid then once with the online bid. twice with the online bid, all finished, all done at £11,250. That is provisional with you at £11,250. 1-8. 1-0, okay, 1-0. Moving on to lot number 220. Lot number 220, 1989 in the year. Another one of my favourites in the sale. And what better person to hand it over to you than you, Steve?
A car that has generated a lot of interest, Tom, even though it is 37 years young. This is, brace yourselves, an E24 Coupe 635 CSI Motorsport Edition in Nogaro Grey. Looks fantastic, doesn't it? Look at those 17-inch cross-spoke alloy wheels. Absolutely immaculate. It has the black leather, black Napa leather, interior 2+2. It was the run-out car. It was right at the end of this car's life, and often that means they just stick some fancy wheels and a bit of body kit on it, and it doesn't look better than the standard car. I'm going to go out on a limb, based on the number of people that have been swarming around this beautiful 80s 2+2 coupe, and say that this was the best-looking version of the BMW 6 Series. It's benefited from having £5,000 spent on its last recent service, and it's just, like I say, a 37-year-old car that is just sold now.
I agree with you there, Steve. It definitely is the best looking BMW. I would say so myself anyway. There's just something about the front end shape of that. Absolute gorgeous car. You also think so online. At 20,000, I'm going to go 21, 22, 23. At £23,000, we're starting now at 23,000. At £23,000, 24. I'm going to go 25 back to me. At £25,000. One more online might do it. At £25,000. 26, you're in. I'm out now at £26,000. At 26. The bid is online now at £26,000. Anyone for 27? At £26,000 is the bid now at 26. At 26,000 is bid. Anyone coming in for 27? At 26 is the bid now at 26. At £26,000, the bid is online at £26,000. Coming in for 27 anywhere else. I'll tell you what, we're going 500s. 26.5 if you wish to go again. At £26,000 is the bid now at 26. At 26,000 now at 26. Are we finished and done? The bid is here online with you at the minute at £26,000. Say 5 anywhere else. At £26,000, we'll count it down. At £26,000, the bid is here online. At 26,000 once. At 26,000 twice. Finished and done at £26,000. That is a provisional bid online, 1047 at £26,000 is a provisional bid. We will be in touch. We're a little way off. Might have some work to do on that one. Moving on to lot number 221 then. Lot number 221, 2006 in the year. The Bentley Continental Flying Spur. Love a flying spur. A few of you think so as well. Also to be offered with no reserve as well today. Showing only 42,000 miles with a July MOT until July 26. You're in at 1,000. I'm going to go 1,500, 2,000. 2,000's my bid. Or can I say 2,500? 2,500 and 3's with me. £3,000 my commission bid. I say 3,500 if you wish to go again. 3,500. I'm out now. 4's bid. At £4,000. At 4,000's the bid online at 4,000. And 5 back in now at 4,005. At 4,005 we're bid. At 4,000, 4,005 and £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000. At £5,000 is the bid now at 5. At 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Are we finished and done? We'll take 5,200 if you wish to go again. At £5,000. Coming in for the 200 anywhere else. At 5,200 you do. Thanking you. At 5,002. In Spain as well at £5,200. 5,400. At 5,004. At 5,400 is the bid now at 5,400. 5,600. Spanish bidders back in now at 5,600 and 5,800. At 5,008. At 5,008. In Lancashire this time, it's your bid at 5,008. At 5,008 and £6,000. At £6,000, it's off to Spain at the minute. At £6,000. Can imagine driving this one down through Malaga. At £6,000, the bid is with you. At 6,000, 6,000, are we finished and done? I'll take 6,200 if anyone else wishes to bid. At £6,000, it's here to be sold. 6,200, Lincolnshire bidder this time. At 6,200, the bid is yours. At 6,002. At 6,000, 6,200 is bid. At 6,200, take 6,400 anywhere else. Are we finished? Are we done? At 6,200, hammers up. At 6,002. At 6,000, 6,002, once with the online bid. At 6,002, twice. Finished and done then. At £6,200 it goes. 6,400. Spanish bidder sneaking in late. At 6,000, 6,004. At 6,000, 6,400 is your bid. Say 6,600 if you're coming back in. At 6,004. At 6,000, 6,004. Hammers up. And off to Spain it goes. Once, twice. Finished and done. 6,600. 6,006. At 6,600, we're bid now at 6,006. Coming back in for 6,008. At 6,000, 6,600, the bid goes once. At 6,600, twice. All finished, all done. Last chance, fair warning, it sells this time at £6,600. Sold, 6,006. 1958. Thanking you very much there. Online bidder 1958, 6,600 sold your way again. And lot number 222, 1996 in the years. The BMW is the 328i this time, the E36 chassis on this one. Lovely little convertible there. It's even got the Isle of Man number plate on it as well. I'm going to go straight in with nothing on my book. Anyone got £1,000 to start? £1,000 surely. No reserve. Must be gone today. Got to be worth £1,000 surely, hasn't it? Thank you very much online. £1,000. Thousands bid. 12. Add 1,200. Add 1,200's bid. Say 14 now. At 1,200's the bid online. 14 bid. At 1,400, 1,400 you bid in, sir. 16 bid in the middle. 1,600, not you online. At 1,600, 18. 2. £2,000. At 2,000 is the bid. 2,2's back in. At 2,002. At 2,200 is the bid now at 2,002. At 2,002, the bid is here online. At 2,002. 2,400. Dublin bidder, you're in at 2,004. 2,600. At 2,006. 2,800. Gentleman's bid on the floor at 2,008. At 2,000, 2,008 is the bid now at 2,008. 3's bid. Dublin's back in at £3,000. At 3,002. Gentleman's bid before you online. Took the gentleman's bid first. At 3,002. Say 3,400 if you're coming back in online. 3,400 they do. At 3,004. Dublin bidder now. 3,500? 3,500's bid. At 3,005. 3,600 straight back in. At 3,700. 3,700 gentleman's bid now at 3,007. At 3,000. 3,007 is the bid now at 3,007. Anyone for 3,800? At 3,007. 3,800's bid. At 3,009, gentleman's back in straight away. Fast bidding, thank you very much, sir. At 3,009, the bid is with you. At 3,009. At 3,000, 3,900 is bid. At 3,009, are we finished? Are we done? At £3,900, gentleman's bid once. At 3,009, all finished and done twice. 4's bid, £4,000. Shakes the head, you might have done it this time in Dublin. At 4,000, the bid is with you. At 4,000, 4,000. At £4,000 is the bid now at 4. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance, fair warning, this time and away then. At 4,000 once, at 4,000 twice, and selling at £4,000. Thank you very much, Dublin bidder. That's yours at £4,000. 4,188. Moving down the list we go to lot number 223, this time 1986 in the year. It's the Mazda RX-7. RX-7 here. Lovely looking RX-7 as well, showing 86,000 miles on this one. You're in with Nick's bid at £3,000. 3,200. 3,400's with me. 3,600. 3,800. Take it to 4. At 3,008. At 3,008 is the bid now at 3,008. At 3,008 and 4's bid now I'm out. You're in. At £4,000. 2. At 4,242. At 4,002 is the bid now at 4,244. At 4,004. At 4,400 is the bid now at 4,004. 4,600 it goes on. At 4,008. At 4,800 is the bid now at 4,008. At 4,008 we're bid. 5's bid now 5. Thanking you online bidder at 5,002. Straight back in now at 5,002. At 5,002 is bid. At 5,000, 5,004. At 5,400 is bid now at 5,004. Would anyone like to go 5,600? At 5,400 we are bid. At 5,000, 5,004 with the online bid now at £5,400. Anyone coming back in for 5,600? At 5,004. Are we finished? Are we done? At 5,400 is the bid now at 5,006. New bidder again this time, 5,006. Welcome to the party. It's your bid now at £5,600. At 5,006. At 5,000, 5,006 is bid. At 5,800. At 5,800 back in now online. At 5,008. Would you like to go 6? At 5,008 is the bid now at 5,008. At 5,800 are we finished? Are we done? At 5,000, 5,800 and 6,000 it goes on. Thanking you online again at £6,000. 2. And on outright sale from this point, ladies and gentlemen, 56264. It's gonna sell today. It's in the market now at 6,004. At 6,000, 6,400 is the bid now at 6,004. Take it to 6,600 if you wish to go again. 6,006. Gavel's in the hand now though at 6,600. At 6,006. At 6,008. At 6,800 is the bid now at 6,008. At 6,800 we are bid now at 6,008. At 6,008 take it to 7. At 6,008 is the bid now at 6,008. Are you finished and done online? Hammers up again. At 6,800 once. At 6,800 twice. And it sells this time and away online at £6,800. Sold at 6,800. Thank you very much. 19420 sold away at £6,800. Moving down the list we go. Lot number 224, 1991 in the year. I love these. It's the 1991. It's the Jaguar XJS. This one looks absolutely great in the Le Mans finish there, in that dark, dulgent green with a nice gold stripe running down the side. I love this one. Someone else does. I'm straight in at 5, 5,500, 6, £6,500 we start. At 6,005, say 7 next if you wish to come in on the XJS here. At 6,005. At 6,005 is the bid. At 6,005, we're bid now at 6,005. At 6,500 is the bid now at 6,005. At 6,000, 6,500, would anyone like to come in now? At 6,005, are we all finished and done here at £6,500? At 6,005. Finished and done then, last chance and fair warning on the book with me at 6,500 once. At 6,500 twice. All finished, all done at £6,500. That's my commission bid there. Moving on, we go 6,005. That is a provisional bid to 1084 who left that bid. Thank you very much if you're watching online, and we'll be in touch with you as soon as possible. Moving on down, we go to lot number 225, 1998 BMW Z3. Two of these lovely Z3s in the sale today. This is the 1.9. It's the James Bond launch example. What we got on this one? We've got 56,000 miles, I believe it's showing on the clock, and an MOT until January 27. There you go, like a fresh, nearly 12-month MOT on that one. Start me off on this one. Let's go. Who's got a couple of £1,000 to start? A couple of thousand, surely. Two's bid. Thank you, sir. I see you. We'll say 2-2 next. We'll run in the 200s on this one. At £2,000. 2 2s in online. At 2,002. 2-4 has gone on. 2-6. 2-6 is bid. At 2006. 2-8 now at 2008. I'm going to take the gentleman's bid at 3. Take 2 online. At 3,000 with you, sir. At £3,000. Online, you're not in. At £3,000. At 3,000, 3,000. Gentleman's bid here at £3,000. Say 3-2, one more. 3-2, thank you online. You're back in now at 3,002. At 3,002, with the online bid here at 3,002. Say 3-4 next. At 3,002. Would you like to go again, sir? Shakes the head. It's your bid online at 3,002. Anyone else coming in now then at £3,200? At 3,232. At 3,002 is the bid now at 3,002. Finished and done then. Last chance in fair warning this time with the online bid here at £3,200. once. At £3,200, then twice. Online bidder, your bid now at 333. We'll take it. 33 bids a bid. Thank you, online. You're in now at 3,003. At 3,003 is your bid. At 3,003, would anyone like to go 3-4? 3-4 you do, back in. Thank you, online. 3,004. At 3,004 is the bid now, 3-5. At 3,005. At 3,000, 3,500 is the bid now at 3,006. New bidder this time, I believe, at 3,006. At 3,006. 3 sevens back in. At 3,007. 3-8 back in now at 3,008. It goes on at 3,008. Take it to 3-9. Either one of the underbidders there. 3-9 you do. Thank you very much. At 3,009. At 3,009 is your bid. At 3,009 in 4. £4,000 now. At 4,000, 4,000, say 1. At 4,000, 4,000, are you finished? Are you done? At £4,000, the bid is here online in 4-1. At 4,001. 4-2. At 4,002. 4-3 bid. With the online bid now at 4,003. At 4,300 is the bid now at 4,003. Would you like to go again online? We're looking for you now. At 4,003, the bid is against you. 4-4 back in. Northamptonshire bidder, it's with you now at £4,400. 4-5. At 4,005. At 4,000, 4,005 is the bid now at 4,005. Who'd like to go again? At 4,005. Are you finished and done on this one? At 4,500, make no mistake. I see you took the gentleman's bid at 4-7. 4-6, sorry. I'll take 4-7 from anyone else. Gentleman's bid at 4,006. Say 4-7 if you wish to go again. It's your bid, sir. I see you at 4,006. 4-7 if you're coming back in now online. Either one of the underbidders there. There's about 3 or 4 of you still, I think. 4-7's bid. At 4,000. 8's in online before you, sir. Would you like 4-9? 4-9, thank you very much. At 4,009. 5,000's in. At £5,000. To be sold today. At £5,000. We're in the market now at 5,001. At 5,001. At 5,001 is bid. Take it to 5-2. At 5,001, are you finishing done? At 5,001, last chance in fair warning. I'm going to sell this time and away 5,002. At 5,200 is bid. At 5-2, 5-2, 5-2. Take 5-3 if you wish to go again. It's going to sell. At 5,200 once. At 5,200 twice. All finished, all done. I sell this time with the online bid. It goes at £5,200. Sold, 5-2.
7952.
Moving down to lot number 226. 2000 BMW 530i. The 530i this time, the E39 chassis on this one. Where are we going to go? No reserve today. You're in at £1,000. I'm going to go in at 1,100. 12. 13's my bid. Take 14 if you want to come in. 14. 15 with me. 16's in. I'm out now. At 1,600's the bid online. 17. At 1,700. 18's bid. At 1,800 now. At 1,800 is the bid now at 18. 19 bid. Sorry, 2,000. Say 2-2. 2-2's on the telephone. Say 2-4 if you want to come back in online. 2-3, okay. 2-3. 2-4. 2-5. At 2,005. 2-6. 2-7. Fast bidding today online. It's the way we like it. 2-8's bid. 2-9. 3,000. 3,000's bid online at £3,000. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. 3-1. Your bid, not you online. 3-2. 3-3. At 3,003. At 3,003 is the bid now at 3,003. At 3,300, would you like to go 3,400? 3,400, telephones back in, thank you on the phone. At 3,004. 3,500. 3,500's bid. At 3,005 now. 3,600 telephone before you online at 3,006. At 3,007. At 3,007's bid. At 3,007's the bid now at 3,007. 3,800. At 3,800. Hampshire bidders in at the minute at 3,004. Thank you very much. 4's bid there on the phones. 4 on the phone. Say 4,200 next. There's still loads of them on. 4,200 if you want to come back in now online. 4,200. At 4,002. At 4,002's the bid. At 4,002. Phone bidder, one more. At 4,002. At 4,002, the bid is here. At 4,002, the bid's online. Okay, 4,003. Bid's a bid. 4,003 is bid on the telephones. 4,400 if you're coming back in now online. 4,400 straight away. At 4,004, Northamptonshire bidder. 4,500. 4,500's bid. At 4,005. At 4,006. At 4,006 with the online bid now at 4,006. At 4,600, we're bid now at 4,006. They're done and dusted on the telephone. The bid's with you online. At £4,600 is the bid now at 4,006. All finished and done. Hammers up. Last chance. Fair warning. Finished and done. It sells this time with the online bid at £4,600. Sold with you. 4,600. Moving down we go to lot number 227. Lot number 227, 1997 is the BMW 318i. This time another lovely convertible BMW in today's sale. Also to be offered with no reserve. We're straight in online, nothing on my book. At £2,000, say 2,200 next. At 2,000's bid. At 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. At 2,000's the bid now at 2. 2,200. 2,400? 2,400. Would you go 2,600, sir? At 2,400 is your bid. 2,600 here. Online bid. 2,800. Gentleman's bid at 2,008. At 2,008 is the bid now at 2,800 and 3's back in online. At £3,000. Online bid here at £3,000 now at 3. 3,200. Gentleman's back in. Thank you, sir. At 3,002. 3,400's bid again at 3,004. In Kent at the minute, it's with you at 3,400. 3,600. Gentleman's bid here in Runcorn at 3,006. At 3,006. The bid is against you now online. Make it nice and quick if you're coming back in. At 3,600, the bid is against you online. Hammers up, your bid, sir, at 3,006. 3,800 new bidder at 3,008. At 3,008, 4,000 here. At 4,000, say 2 if you're coming back in, gentlemen. At £4,000. I took the gentleman's bid there at 4,200. He put his paddle up at the same time. 4,200. Online, make it quicker if you're coming back in. Left-handed out, you're in at 4,002. Online, would you like to go 4,400? At 4,002. At 4,000, 4,200 once, twice. And I'm selling this time at £4,200 it goes. Your bid, sir, 42741, thank you. Moving down, we go to lot number 228 this time. Lot number 228, 1975 in the year. Porsche 911. This one's the 2.7 coupe. The 2.7 coupe here. Look at that. Looks like a glorious machine. This one does. Looks great in the red. Nothing on my book. Start me off. Who's got £15,000? Seems reasonable to me. 15,000 surely. Kick it off today. Anyone interested at £15,000 to start me off? Online, I believe you're in. 15,000, thank you. At 15,000, 16's bid. At 16,000 now, we're running the thousands for a bit on this one. At £16,000 is currently in Northamptonshire, 17 Yorkshire, 18 Northampton's back in. 19 now. Take it to 20 for me. 20 you do. At £20,000. At 20,000, 20,000's in the West Midlands this time at 20 and one bid. At £21,000 is the bid now at 21. At 21, 21. At 21,000, lovely little Porsche here at just £21,000. At 21, 21 and 2. At 22's back in now at £22,000. At 22, 22. At £22,000 is the bid here online. At £22,000, Cheshire bidder, you're in. At £22,000. At 22, 22. We'll take the 500, no need, 23. We'll take the 500s now, though. At £23,000, the bid is with you. Another Cheshire bidder, 23.5. North Yorkshire, you're in. At 23,005 is the bid. At 23.5. At 23,500, we are bid. Would you like to go 24? There's a few of you still on this one, I believe. Hear a whistle, but I don't see a paddle. Ah, yes, there we go. 24 is your bid. Thank you very much, sir. The whistles echo around. I don't know where it comes from. At £24,000. At £24,000, we're going to put it on sale at £24,024.5. 25,000, gentlemen's bid back in. At £25,000. At 25, 25. And another 500s in online, 25.5. 30 bid, 26 bid, sorry. £26,000. I wish. £26,000. The last chance in fair warning. 5's back in now at 26,005. Shakes the head. You're in online at the minute. North Yorkshire bidder at 26,005. Anyone else for 27? Because you come this far, sir, would you like the quarter bid? One more? Thank you very much. 26,750 with the gentleman up top. 27's back in. We'll stay in the quarters now, though. At £27,000. At 27,000. At 27,000 is the bid now at 27. At 27,000, 27,000, are we all finished? Are we all done? At 27,000, I'll reach for the gavel. At 27, it's up. At 27,000, all finished, all done. Last chance in fair warning, this time I sell with the online bidder once, twice, finished and done, and selling now at £27,000 it goes. Sold at 27,000. Moving down we go to lot number 229 this time, and we move on to a 1973. It's a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow this time. Another no reserve Rolls-Royce in today's sale. Looks great indeed. Going to go straight in at £2,000. Say 22 next. 22, 24's my bid. At 2004 with me. 26. I'm out now at 2006. 28's bid. At 2008. At 2008 and 3. At £3,000. 32. At 3,002 is the bid now at 3,002. At 32, 32, 32. At 3,002, the bid is here online. It's to be sold today, no reserve at 3,002. Anyone like to come in now? At 3,002, the bid is here online. At 3,002, are we all finished and done? At 3,002. At 3,000, 3,200. Hammers up then at 3,200 once. Twice. Finishing done, and it sells this time with the online bid at £3,200 it goes. Sold at 3,2. Moving down, we go to lot number 230 in the sale, 1989, an absolute gorgeous Mercedes-Benz. And what can you tell us about this one, Steve?
Well, Tom, what I can say is that once upon a time, car companies let engineers decide what their cars should look like and be like. And those same engineers in Germany at BMW and Mercedes thought that the people they should get to do the looks were the Italians. And that is how you end up with beautiful cars like that BMW 635 CSI and this magnificent Mercedes W126 560 SEC. Bruno Sacco was responsible for the styling, but of course it was those German engineers who created perhaps the best of the big heavyweights. from the 1980s. This car has relatively high mileage, but it's been, as you can easily see, wonderfully looked after. It's had, let's not say a restoration, let's say a refresh from Bridge Classics, who are, of course, one of the country's top restorers. All sorts of work has been done to this car to present it after all these years in this fantastic condition. This was the most expensive car in the Mercedes range at the time, even more money than the big saloons. In a way, more money for less car, but in another way, so much more of a car. You had to be a movie star, a rock star, or perhaps a director of Coutts Bank, which is who I bought my 560 SEC off to afford a car like this when they were new. The only thing I didn't like about mine were the unimpressive flat front alloys. Bridge Classics have sorted that out with a fantastic set of staggered 18-inch wheels clad in brand new Yokohama rubber. What an impressive, magnificent car. In the battle of the big 80s heavyweights coupe, this was the Muhammad Ali of motors, simply the greatest.
The greatest indeed, and we're straight in online at 10. I'm going to go 11. 11,000's my bid. Say 12 if you're coming back in now. 11,000, 11,000. 12's bid there at £12,000. At 12,000, 12,000, I'm going to go 12,500 and 13,000. Take 13,500 next. At £13,000 is the bid now at 13. 13,500 and 14 back to me. At 14,000, 14,000, say 5 again. At £14,000 the bid. At 14,000, 14,000. Love this Mercedes-Benz here at just £14,000. The bid is here on the book with me. Make no mistake. At £14,000. At 14,000, 14,000. Say 5 if you wish to come in. At £14,000, 5. I'm out. You're in online. At 14,500. Buckinghamshire bidder, you're in at 14,500. Lovely little Mercedes this is at just 14,500. Seems cheap to me. At 14,500. At 14,500, 14,500. At 14,500, say 15 anywhere else. 15 you do, thank you very much online. At £15,000. At 15,000, 15,000, 2 online bidders now. At 15,500 back in. Buckinghamshire bidder there at 15,500. At 15,500, 15,500. At 15,005 is the bid. At 15,500, 15,500, all finished and done. I'll take 15,750 if it helps you out under bidder. You coming back for the small bite? 15,750, yes please, they say. At 15,750, you're in now online. At 15,750, would anyone like to go 16? Surely one more. You've come this far under bidder. £16,000. 16,250. Hammers in hand now. At 16,250. At 16,250, 16,250. At 16,250, 16,500 to be sold today in the market. 16,750 back in. Thanking you for your bids there online. At 16,750 were bid. At 16,750, anyone for 17 now? Are we finished and done online? Would you like to go again? At 16,750 and 17's bid. Thank you very much. And 17,250 straight back in. At 17,250. At 17,250 is the bid now. At 17,250, take 17,500 if you wish to go again. At 17,250, are we finished? Are we done? Last chance, fair warning. Hammers up, we're selling. At 17,250 once, 17,250 twice, and 17,500 bid. At 17,500, 17,750. At 17,750 is your bid. Would you like to go 18? Make it nice and quick under bidder if you're coming in for one more. At 17,750, the bid then once. Hammers up twice. All finished, all done. I'm going to sell this time, and away it goes. At £17,750. Sold your way.
19656.
19656. Yes. Right, moving down we go. Lot number 231 this time then. Lot number 231. It's the first of the singers in today's sale. This is the 1952. It's the 4AD Roadster there. Lovely looking car this is. Looks absolutely glorious. As far as the classics goes, this one is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to go straight in at 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, £6,000, say 6,500 if anyone else wishes to bid now. At £6,000 on the singer. At 6,000, 6,000, say 5. At £6,000 is the bid. At 6,000, 6,000, bid now at 6,000. 6,500, you're in online. My commission interest is out. At 6,500. At £6,500, we are bid. At 6,500, say 7. Got 7. I'll take 7,200 now, though, if it helps. We'll go in 200s. At £7,000. At 7,000 is the bid now at 7,000. Say 2 if anyone wishes to come in for one more. The bid is here online. At £7,000. At 7,000, 7,000. Anyone else want to come in now? At £7,000. I'll tell you what, on the telephones, if this helps you out, we are on outright sale at £7,000. It's going to sell today. The hammer's in hand. We're selling at £7,000. I'll tell you what, as soon as it's in the market, 7,100 for anyone else. Take the £100 now. At £7,000 is to be sold. At 7,000, 7,000. Are we finishing done? Would anyone like another £100 bid? At 7,000, 7,000, then hammers up. At 7,001. Middle of the room, thanking you, sir. At 7,001, the bid is with you now at 7,001. Lovely little car this is. At just £7,100, and we sell. At 7,001. Anyone for 7,200? Last chance in fair warning this time and away then. Gentleman's bid here. At 7,100, hammers up. At 7,100 once. At 7,100 twice. Selling your way at 7,002. 7,200 sneaked in. At 7,002. At 7,200 is bid. One more. They're out. You might have done it this time online at 7,200. The late bid scared them off. At £7,200, we are bid now at 7,200. Once, twice, finished and done. And I sell at £7,200 it goes. Sold your way, £7,200. Next one, lot number 232. The 2020 Ginetta G40, look at this one. What a race crash car it was. It had lots of interest before the sale and has already sold, so it was hammer time on the Ginetta. There we go. Moving on to lot number 233, 1985, 1985, Austin Mini Mayfair. Love a little Mini Mayfair. This one looks great. No reserve, must go today. And you're straight in at £1,000. Say 1,200 now. At 1,000's bid, 12's bid. At 1,200 is the bid now at 12. At 1,200, 1,200, 14 bid. At 1,400, 1,400. Anyone for 16 now? At 1,400 is the bid now at 14. At 1,400, 1,400. 16 bid. Gentleman's bid in the floor at £1,600. Say 18 if you're coming back in now online. 18 you are. £2,000. At 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. At £2,000. 2,200. At 2,002, 2,400. At 2,004, the bid's against you online. Gentleman's bid here at 2,004, 2,600 is in. 2,800 bid. At 2,008. 3,000 now. 3,200. At 3,002. 3,400's back in online. At 3,004 with the online bid now at 3,004. At 3,000, 3,004. Would you like one more, sir? 3,600, thank you. At 3,006. 3,800 if you're coming back in online. At 3,006 or anywhere else in the room wants to have a go on this one. At 3,600, the bid is yours, sir. At 3,600, the hammer's up. At 3,000, 3,600, we're selling. We're waiting for you online. If you're coming back in, it's now or never. At 3,600 once, twice, we sell. At £3,600 with you, sir, at 3,600. Sold. 276. Thank you very much. 276. Moving down to lot number 234. Lot number 234, 2003 in the year, Mercedes-Benz. It's the CLK 55. It's got the black edition look on it. Lovely AMG this one is. Anyone start me off at £6,000 surely? 6,000 to get it going. Just £6,000 for a lovely AMG. Surely. £6,000 to key it off today. 6 is bid. Gentleman's bid. We'll go in 500s for now at £6,000. At 6,000, 6,000. Gentleman's bid here at £6,000. Say 6,500 if anyone wishes to come in on this one. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6,500. At 6,500, 6,500. Would you like 7? At 6,500 and 7 bid. Thank you very much, sir. At £7,000. At 7,000, 7,000. At £7,000 is the bid now at 7. At 7,000, 7,000, are we finishing done here? At just £7,000. I'll take 250, shouldn't need to, still got a way to go. At £7,000. At 7,000, 7,000, are we finishing done? We will submit the bid to the vendor. 7,250. Shakes the head. 7,500 next if you want to come back in. At 7,250 is the bid. At 7,250, 7,250. Anyone for 7.5? At 7,250 is the bid now at 7,250. The bid is here online. Would anyone else like to go one more? At 7,250 is the bid. At 7,250, the bid now 7,250 once. Sure not one more, sir? At 7,250 twice, I submit the bid to the vendor at £7,250. That is provisionally with you, 1096 for 7,250. That is a provisional bid. We will make the phone call. Moving on to lot number 235 in today's sale, 2,000 in the year. It's the BMW Alpina. It's the B10 3.3 litre. Lovely, genuine and rare example. This one is, I've got several commission bids. You're in online, 5. I'm going to go 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9. In the market, and we sell today at £9,000 with my commission interest now. Say 9.5 if anyone else wishes to bid. At £9,000. At 9,000, 9,000. At £9,000 here on the book with me at £9,000. I'll take 250s if it helps anyone come in. And at £9,000 is to be sold today. 9,250s bid. County Durham, you're in. Back to me, 9.5. At 9,005. At 9,000, 9,005 is bid. 9,750. 9,750 and 10. 10 back to me at £10,000. At 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. 10,250 bidder back in now. 10,250, 10,5. At 10,005. At 10,005, 10,750 and £11,000. At 11,000 with my commission bidder now. At £11,000 we are bid. At 11,000, 11,000, 11,000. Would anyone like to go again? At £11,000, online bidder, we're looking for you again now at £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000. Are we finishing done at just £11,000? Make no mistake, I'm going to sell today. At £11,000, hammers up now. At 11,000, 11,000. With my commission interest here at 11,000 on the book with me. At 11,000, 11,000 once. At 11,000, 11,000 twice. Finishing done, I sell this time and away it goes at £11,000. Sold at 11,000. Thank you very much to that commission bidder 3012 who left that bid. Thanking you. Moving on to lot number 236, 1975 MGB Roadster. No reserve in today's sale. Looks great in that sort of white colour there. Start me off on this one. Who's got £1,000 surely? MGB. £1,000 to start me off. Only 54,000 miles on the clock. Surely worth £1,000 to get it going. £1,000. Go to £500 then. I shouldn't need to. Lovely MGB here. £500 to kick it off today. 5's bid. Thank you, sir. 6. 6. 600's bid now. Anyone for 7? 7's bid. 8. 800's bid. At £800, would you like 9? 9's here. £1,000 bid. £1,000 seated. At £1,000. 11. 11 bid. Would you like 12, sir? 12's bid. At 1,200, 1,200, 13's bid. 1,300 all on the floor at the minute. 14? 14's in online. 15's next. 14's here. 15, gentleman's bid. 1,500. 16's online. At 1,600, 1,600. Take 17, sir. 1,700, thank you. At 1,700 online, you need to go 18. Are we finishing done? We sell today. Make no mistake. I'm going to get the gavel in the air. It's £1,700. Gentleman's bid here at 1,700. You sure one more? Last chance. Fair warning. I'm selling this time then. Left-handed it goes at 1,700. All finished. All done at 1,700. Your bid, sir, at 1,700. 285. Thank you very much. 285. £1,700. Sold, sold, sold. Moving on to lot number 237. Lot number 237 is the 2005 in the year Porsche 911. This one's the 997 Carrera 2S Cabriolet. Lovely little Cabriolet edition this is. Looks great indeed. I'm straight in at £10,000. At £10,000 is bid. We'll say 11 next if we can. At 10,000, 10,000. At 10,000, 11's bid online. At £11,000, say 12 next. At 11,000, 11,000. Lovely Porsche this is it. Just £11,000 with you in County Durham. At 11,000, 11,000. We'll go 5 then, 11,500 if it helps. At £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000. 5, I see you, sir. 11,500, thanking you. 12 straight back in. 5, 12,500 bid. At 12,005. At 12,000, 12,005. Online bidder, would you like to go 13? I think there was a couple of you. At 12,005. And anyone else coming in now? At 12,005 is the bid now at 12,005. Are we finishing done at 12,500? 13's back in now, 13. County Durham bidder, 13,500. 13,500's bid. At 13,500, 13,500. At 13,005 is the bid now at 13,500. Are we finishing done? Would you like to go again in County Durham? You're coming back in for that one more. At 13,005. At 13,500, 13,500. All finishing done then. At 13,005, 14. 14,500. Would you go 15, sir? 15,000. Thanking you. Good man. At £15,000. At 15,000, 15,000. Say 5 from anywhere else. At 15,000, 15,000, go 5 if you wish to go again. At £15,000, you are out online. Make no mistake here. At £15,000. At 15,000, 15,000, all finishing done then. At £15,000, we will count you down online. At 15,000 once. At 15,000 twice. All 15,500. 15,500, County Durham. I'll tell you what, I'll take the quarter bid if it helps you out. Would you like to go 15,750? You've come all this way. 15,750, thank you. At 15,750, County Durham, you need to go 16 if you wish to bid. At 15,750 is the bid now at 15,750. At 15,750, 15,750. Last chance in fair warning online. I'm going to count you down. At 15,750, the bid then once. 15,750, the bid then twice. Hammers up and we're selling now at 15,750. Yours, sir, at 15,750, 209. 209, £15,750. And thank you on the phones as well. Good job there. Moving on to lot number 238. Lot number 238, 2003, the MG ZT 190 this time. Lovely little MG from the early 2000s. What have I got on the book on this one? Let's have a look. 58,000 miles, 2.6, a V6 engine in this one as well. Where are we going to go? Start me off. Who's got £500 for it? Let's get it going. £500. Let's not mess around here. Anyone interested at 500 to go. Surely. Lovely little MG here for just £500. Let's get it in the market. 5's bid online. We'll run in hundreds for you. Who's got 6? At 500 a bit. At 5 and 600's bid now at 6. At 600, 600, 600. At £600 is the bid now at 600. With you in Cambridgeshire. At £600. 7, thank you, sir. At £700 is bid. At 700, 700. At £700 is the bid now at 7. At 700, 700, are we finishing done? 8's bid. Shropshire bidder this time at 800. Would you like 9, sir? 900, thank you. £900. Gentleman's bid now at 9. At 900 and 1,000's bid. At 1,000, 1,000. Shakes the head. Online now at £1,000. At £1,000 is the bid now at 1,000. Are we finishing done then? At just £1,000. Gavels up. At 1,000's bid. At 1,000, 1,000's the bid now, 1,100. Welcome to you in Ireland, 1,112. At 1,200 bid. At 1,200, 1,200, 1,200. 13 bid now back to Ireland at £1,300. 14's back in. At 1,400, 1,400. At 1,400 is the bid now at 14. Would you like to go 15 anywhere else? At 1,400, 1,400. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning. This time, it's gonna sell. And away it goes. Hammers up once, twice. Finishing done at £1,400. Sold it at 1,400. It's a lot of ones. 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. There we go. Moving on to lot number 239. 2000 in the year. The Bentley Honage, the red label one there. I think it's just parked out the front as you're coming in the door. Lovely car. Might not be that one, not too sure. Let's go in with my commission interest straight away at £5,000. Say 5-5 next. At £5,000, 5-5 if you want to come in. Lovely, a red label on ours here. At 5,000 we start. Say 5-5 to go on. At 5,000, 5 you're in online. I'm out now. At 5,005. Next bid 6,000 if you wish to go again. At 5,005. At 5,005 is bid 6. You're in now at £6,000. At 6,000, 6,000. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6. At 6,000, 6,000. I'll take 6-2 if it helps anyone out. At £6,000. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. 6-2 bid. Lancashire bidder now at 6,002. At 6,002, 6-4. 6,004 is the bid now at 6,004. At 6,004, 6-6 if you're coming in again. 6,006 you do, thanking you. At 6,006. At 6,600 we're bid now at 6,006. At 6,006 is the bid now at 6,006. Would you like to go 6-8? 6-8, yes please. Newport bidder now at 6,008, the bid is with you. At 6,008. Take it to 7 for me if you're coming back in. At 6,008. At 6,000, 6,008 is the bid now at 6,008. Would you like to go 7? At 6,008. At 6,000, 6,800. We're going to sell this one at 6,008. Hammers up. At 6,008 is the bid now. 6,008 and 7's bid now. Surrey bidder, you're back in at £7,000. We're in the market to be sold. At 7,000, 7,000. At 7,000 is the bid now at 7. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance, fair warning then. Hammers up and away it sells. Once, twice, finishing done. 7-2's back in now, 7-2. At 7,002, 7-2, 7-2. At 7,002's the bid now at 7,002. We're selling online. At 7,200, once, twice, finishing done. I'm going to sell with you online at £7,200 it goes. Sold at £7,200. 13881. Sold your way at £7,200. Moving on to lot number 240 in the sale. It's another lovely XJS, and over to you, Steve.
Tom, people will say that the Jaguar cars that were made under Ford ownerships aren't real Jaguars, and of course that's absolute nonsense. What the Ford Motor Company did is make some beautiful cars actually work and compete with cars of the same sort of heritage and history and at the same price point as a Jaguar, like BMWs and Mercedes. The third of the 80s, the big 80s coupes that we've offered for sale today. This XJS has covered just 100,000 miles, but only 2,000 of those miles, we think, in the last 20 years or so. It's a 3-owner car. I hate to use the B word, but it is beige, both inside and on the outside. But I'd like the cameraman to just retreat a little bit. In fact, keep going back, because what I want to show the good people is the unbelievable condition that this car is in. Think of the last time that you saw one of these XJSs with the redesigned front bumpers, the facelifted ones, the diamond cut wheels in this sort of condition. And here's the clincher. We don't think it's been restored. We don't know whether it has or not, but we don't think. We think that this car came out of the factory looking like this, and somebody spent an awful lot of time ensuring that that's what it looks like today. People have been open-mouthed in front of this car, and I'm not surprised. A beautiful car in unbelievable condition. Where do we get them from?
Where do we get them from indeed? And I'll tell you what, commission bids are all over this one. You're in at 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. I've got 4, 4.5. I'm going to go 5 and ask for 5,250 next if we can. At £5,000. At 5,000 we start. 5,250, 5,5. Can I say 5,750? You're in, sir. At £5,750 is bid. 6,000 if anyone else wishes to come in. At 5,750, gentleman's bid. I see you up top. 6,000's bid. 250, one more. At £6,000 on the telephones now. At 6,000, 6,000. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6. 6,250 bid. 6,250, I see you again. At £6,250 is the bid now at 6,250. I didn't realise I had 4 telephones on it. 6,500. 6,500's bid. At 6,500. At 6,500 is the bid now at 6,500. 6,750, I see you. Jim's telephone now at 6,750 is bid. At 6,757 now 7. At £7,000. Other telephone bidder now at £7,000 is the bid now at 7. At 7,000, 7,000. At £7,000. 7,250. Jim's phone's back in now at 7,250. Back to John's telephone at 7,005. The battle of the phones is began at 7,005. At 7,500 is the bid now at 7,005. 7,750, I see you, sir. At 7,750, the phones are out. Gentleman's bid now at 7,750. 8,000 bid. £8,000. Shakes the head. At £8,000 is the bid now at 8. At 8,000, 8,000. Who would like the 250 one more? At £8,000, are you all finished and done? At 8,200 telephones in just before you online. Sorry about that. 8,250, 8,500's in online. I'll take your bid now. Thank you very much online. Appreciate your bidding. At 8,005, the bid is with you. 8,750, John's phone. At 8,750 is bid. 9's back in. At 9,000, find another like this. XJS 4 litre here at 9,000 with the online bid. At 9,000, 9,000. Eva telephone, you coming back in? At £9,000. At 9,000, 9,000, 9,000. At £9,000. One of the telephones is just disconnected and hung up, I believe, at £9,000. And that's the second one dropped off at £9,000. We're in online at 9,000, 9,000. Anyone else want to come in now? If not, hammers up. I'm going to sell at £9,000 with the online bid once, twice, finished and done. It goes this time and away it sells with you in Lancashire at £9,000. Sold at 9,000.
19286.
Lot number 241, 1972. Look at this one. Datsun project car. It's definitely a project. Great bit of restoration project this would be. But the 240Z there, I love the 240Z. It's one of my favourite cars. I don't have the time and effort to put into this, but I'm sure someone does it. It's going to be sold at no reserve today on the Datsun 240. It is a project. Let's get it gone today. Who's got £1,000 to start me off here? £1,000 project car. Just £1,000 to go. How about £500 then? Surely it needs a new home. £500. What a project that would be. Might take you a few years, but who wants to go? £250 to start me off then. We'll go for the quarter. 250 gentleman's bid here. At 250 is the bid. Can we do 50s on this one just to get it going? 250's bid here. Say 300 next. 3's bid. At £300. Shakes the head now. At 300 with the online bid. At 300, 300. Anyone for another 50 now? At £300, it's going to go today. No reserve, must be sold. At £300. I tell you what, if you're like an interior designer or something, you could probably do something really cool with this. For little money, at just £300, the bid is in. With you now. At Shropshire bidder, at 300, 300. Anyone else for 50? At £300, it's going to go today. At 300, 300. Are we finished? Are we done? 350, I see you waving away. Thank you up top. At £350 is your bid now at 350. Coming back in for the 4. At 350, 350. At 350, we are bid now at 350. Are we finished and done? I'll put the hammer up. 4's bid, I see you, sir. 4. At £400. Gentleman's bid now at 4. Would you like another 50 up on the balcony? At 400 bid. 450 you do. Thank you for coming back in. At £450, we are bid. At 450, 450, 450. At £450, you're coming back in for 5. At 450, are we finished? At 450, 450. At 455 bid. Gentleman's bid back in down here now at 500. Would you like 50 again? 550's bid. Thank you very much. At £550. At 550, 550. At 550, coming back in for the 6. Are we finished and done? At £550. Last chance in, fair warning. Hammers up. We're going to sell today. Left-handed it goes. Once at £550. 6 is bid now, 6. At £600. 50 straight back in. Thank you for your fast bids. I appreciate it there. At £650. At 650, 650, 650. Would anyone like to go 7? At £650, you finishing done. You coming back in for one more, sir? At 650 is the bid. Thinking about it. At 650, 650, 650. Are we finished? Are we done? We're not, he says. 7's back in. 700, shaking the head on the left this time. At 700, anyone else for 50 now? At £700, are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning. I'm going to sell. At 750's back in, 750. Good bidding, sir. Thank you very much. At £750, left-handed now. At £750. At 750, 750. Thinking about it. At £750. I'll tell you what, I'll put the hammer up. At 750, 750. Are we finished and done? At £750, I'm going to sell. Last chance in fair warning. It's now or never. He shakes the head. At 750, once, twice. Your bid up top at £750 it goes. Your bid at 750. Thanking you very much. What was your paddle number there? 230, thank you, 230, £750 sold your way. And we move on to lot number 242, 2009 in the year. I love a Defender and I love the 90 chassis. This one looks great. It's the XS SWB station wagon. Look at that. Station wagons is definitely what they are. And I'm going to go straight in with my commission interest, not going to mess around. £10,000. Let's say 11 next. At 10,000's bid. At 10,000, 10,000's the bid now at 10. 11's bid now 11,000. I'm out already, you're in now. Northamptonshire bidder, 11,000. 11,000, 11,000. Coming in for the 12. 12,000, thank you, sir. At £12,000. At 12,000's the bid. At 12,000, 12,000, say 13 next. At £12,000 is the bid now at 12. At 12,000, 12,000, 12,000. I'll take 500s if I need to. At £12,000 with the gentleman in the middle. 12 fives in online. Would you like to go 13? 13,000. At 13,000, 13,000. Gentleman's bid. 13.5 back in. 14 bid. Thank you, sir. At £14,000. It's a lovely Defender. It really is. At 14,000, 14,000. At 14,000, you're coming in on the phones. 14.5 online says yes, please. At 14,005, 15 bid. At £15,000 now, gentleman's bid here in the room. At £15,000. At 15,000, 15,000, and 5 back in. 15.5. 16 bid. At £16,000 now. At 16,000, 16,000. Anyone else like to have another go here? At £16,000. Are you coming in on the phone? 16.5 online's in. 17 back in, gentleman's bid. At 17,000, 17,000. At 17,000 online or telephones coming in. 17.5 online says yes, please. At 17.5 and 18,000, thank you again, sir. At £18,000. At 18,000. Take 5 on the telephone if they want to come in. At 18,000, 18,000. 18.5. Yeah, okay. 18 and a quarter, he says on the telephone. Nitty gritty time. 18,250's bid. Would you like 18.5, sir? 18.5 back in now. Gentleman's bid at 18,005. 18,750, telephone bidder, you're in. At 18,750. At 18,750, would you like 19? 19 bid. Gentleman's bid. Thank you very much, sir. You've come this far at £19,000. At 19,250, telephone bidder back in. At 19,250, 19.5? 19.5, thank you. At 19.5. And we're on sale. 19,750. One more? 20 did. At 20,000 now. At 20,000 it's in the market. Gonna have to hurry you now. At £20,000. At 20,000, 20,000. Are you walking away on the telephones or are you coming back in? At 20,000 once. At 20,000 twice. Selling now at 20,000 it goes. Your bid, sir, at £20,000. Thank you very much. And that is to paddle number 72. Moving on to lot number 243, 1978 is the Reliance Scimitar. It's the GTE then, the GTE Scimitar, where we're going to go straight in at 3, 3.5, 4. 4's bid at £4,000. At 4,000, say 4.5. At 4,000 on the Reliance Scimitar here. At 4,000's the bid now at 4. Would anyone like to come in for 5? At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. At £4,000, we are bid now at 4. Are we finished? Are we done? At just £4,000, 5's in. At £4,500. At £4,500 is the bid now at 4.5. And 5's bid. At £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000. At £5,000 is the bid now at 5. At 5,000, 5,000 coming in for the half. At £5,000. I'll take 250 if it helps you back in coming in online. At £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000, are we finishing done? At just £5,000 is the bid now at 5. At 5,000, 5,000 once. At 5,000 twice. All finished, 5,250's bid. Welcome to you in Kent. You're in now at 5,250. My interest is out. Your bid's in online at 5,250 and on outright sale. It sells today. This is going to be a bargain. At £5,250 is the bid now at 5,250. Hammers up, so make no mistake. At 5,250, 5,500. Dublin's in. It's going to go. At 5,005. At 5,500, 5,500, 5,500. At 5,500, are we finished and done? Off to Dublin at the minute. At 5,500, once, twice. Finished and done. I'm going to sell. Make no mistake, 5,750's bid. Kent's back in. At 5,750, 5,750. At 5,750 is the bid. Would anyone like to go 6? Make it nice and quick if you do. Don't miss out now. At 5,750, Ireland, if you're coming back for one more, make it nice and quick. At 5,750 once, twice, finished and done. And selling now at £5,750 it goes. Is that a bid? No, stretching. 5,750, 5,750. 4270, sold your way. Thank you very much there. Moving on down we go. Lot number 244, 1992 in a year. Mercedes-Benz is the 190E, 2 litre here. Where are we going to go on this one? Start me off. I've got 3,000 straight in. I've got £3,000 with me on the book. 79,000 miles on the clock. April MOT as well. At 3,000 with me on the book here at 3. Say 3-2 if anyone wants to bid on this one. At £3,000. We'll go in the 2s. At 3,000's the bid. 3-2, gentleman's bid. I'm out already. Your bid, sir. At 3,002. 3-4's in online. At 3,004. 3-6 bid. Gentleman's bid at 3,006. At 3-6, 3-6. At 3,006, we're bid now at 3,008. At 3,008's back in online. Would you like to go 4? At 3,008. At £4,000 now. At 4's bid. Gentleman's bid here on the floor. At £4,000. Online or anywhere else. Would you like to go 4-2? At 4,000, 4,000. 4-2 you do, thanking you. At 4,002. At 4,200 with the online bid now at 4,002. 4-4, thank you again, sir. At 4,004. Lovely little Mercedes-Benz this is. At just 4,400 we're bid. At 4-4. At 4,004 is the bid now at 4,004. Are we finishing done online? Would you like to go again? At 4,000, 4,004 is the bid now at 4,004. At 4,400, all finished and done then. The last chance in fair warning. Gentlemen, 4,6. New bidder just in front of you, sir. At 4,006. At 4,006, I'll take 4,7. 4,7. 4,8. 4,8. At 4,008. At 4,008, would you like 4,9? 4,9. Gentleman's bid. 5? £5,000 now. At £5,000. Say 1. We'll stay in the hundreds now. At £5,000, just to the left of you. Shaking the head. It's your bid still, sir. Online, would you like to come in? At 5,000, 5,000, or anywhere else. At £5,000. The bid is with the gentleman here. At 5,000, 5,000. At £5,000. Are we finishing done? Last chance in fair warning, this time and away. At 5,000, 5,000. At £5,000. Are we finished? Are we done? 5-1, they're back in. At 5,001. At 5-1's bid. At 5,001. Would you like to go 5-2, sir? At 5,001. Having a good talk. At 5,001. 5-2's back in. At 5,002. At 5,002's the bid. At 5,002. We're very, very close on this one. Would anyone else like to go 5-3? The last chance in fair warning then. Are you sure? At 5,200, the bid is here. One more? Are you sure? 5,200 once. 5,200 twice. All finished, all done. Your bid, sir, at 5,002. We're very, very close on that. I think they'll get through the line for you. 299 was it? Just show me the paddle again. 299, thank you. 3,200. That was a provisional bid, very, very close. Moving on down to lot number 245, the second of the Z3s in today's sale. This is the 1997 one, it's the 1.9. Just look at the colour of this one. I can't say I've ever seen it in that colour before. It looks absolutely beautiful, a little bit different. I'm going to go straight in with my commission interest at £3,000. Bids with me here on the book. At 3,000 we start. At 3,000, say 2. At £3,000 is the bid now at 3,002. At 3,2's bid. I'm out already, you're in online. At 3,002. 3,4 bid now 3,004. 3,6 is bid now at 3,006. At 3,000, 3,006. At £3,600, the bid is here at 3,006 with the online bid. Would anyone else like to come in? Yes, you do. Thank you. At 3,008, gentleman's bid. Thank you, sir. At 3,008, the bid is with you. Lovely colour, like I said, at 3,008. Take it to 4 if you wish to go again online. 4 you do, back in now at 4. At £4,000. At 4,000, 4,000, another 2. 4,2, thank you, sir. At 4,002, they're back in. Online is your turn. At 4,002 with the gentleman here. At 4,002 is the bid. At 4,2, 4,2. At 4,200 online, would you like to go 4,4? At 4,200, we will submit the bid, so make no mistake. At 4,002, gentleman's bid here. I'll count it down then. At £4,200 then once. 4,4, new bidder on the floor as well. At 4,004. I'll tell you what, if you make it nice and quick, we'll go in hundreds. 4,5? Shakes his head, I tried. 4,5's in online. 4,6? Shakes the head as well. Online stealing it away at the minute at 4,005. At 4,005 with the online bid here at 4,005. At 4,005 we're bid. At 4,005. Would anyone like to go 4,6? Are you sure? Are you done? Are you dusted? Last chance, fair warning. Online has it then. We'll count it down with the online bid once. At 4,005. Twice. All finished. All done. At £4,500. That is provisionally with you online at 4,500. Well, again, we're very, very close on it. 8,562. Moving down, we go to lot number 246 this time. Quite like this one as well. It's the 2002 in the year. It's the Maserati. It's the 4200 Spider over in the back corner there. The interior looks quite nice on this one as well. Great looking thing. I'm in. You're in at 6, 6.5, 7 with me. £7,000 we start. 7,000's bid. Say 7,500 if anyone wants to come in on the Maserati Spider here. At 7,000, 7,000. Only 41,000 miles on the clock and MOT till August. At 7,000, say 5. At 7,000, 7,005's in online and 8,000 back to me. At £8,000. At 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. At £8,000 we are bid. Say 8,500. At £8,000. Would you like to go 5 anywhere else? At 8,005. Coming in for 8,500. At 8,000, 8,000. Are we finishing done on the Spider then? Last chance and fair warning. At £8,000, we'll submit the bid to the vendor. It goes once at 8,000, twice, all finished, all done, £8,000. 1063, provisional with you. £8,000 provisionally. We'll see what we can do. Moving down, we go to lot number 247, 1937 in the year. It's the Austin 7 Ruby. Look at that one. Gotta love an Austin 7, haven't you? Great characteristic cars. I'm going to go straight in. I got several commission bids. Not going to mess around here a minute, Nick. I'm going to have to go 3,000, 3,2 to start, and I need to see 3,4 next. At 3,002. Anyone for 3,4? At 3,002. At 3,000, 3,002's the bid now at 3,002. Selling today at 3,002. Anyone for 3,4? At £3,200 is the bid now at 3,002. Are we finishing done? I'll put the hammer up. No messing around today at 3,002. Last chance in fair warning. I'm going to sell at 3,002 once. At 3,002 twice. All finished, all done. It's going to go then at £3,200 and selling. Sold at £3,200. And that's to bidder number 3049 if you're watching at home. Moving on to lot number 289, 2005 in the year. It's the Porsche 911 997 Carrera 2. Look at that one, another lovely Porsche. We've had some lovely examples of Porsches in today's sale. This one looks great. I'm going to go straight in at £10,000. At £10,000 is the bid now at 10. 11's bid. 11,000, 11,000. At £11,000 is the bid now at 11. At £11,000, we'll go in 500, shouldn't need to. 11, 5 and 12. 12's in online, say 5 again. At £12,000. At 12,000, 12,000. At £12,000, say 5. At £12,000 is the bid now at 12,000. At 12,000, 12,000, are we finishing done at just £12,000? 12,500 we're not. At 12,005. At 12,000, 12,005 is the bid. At 12,005, are we finishing done with the online bid here at 12,005? At 12,500, 12,500, last chance in fair warning this time then. At 12,005, I'll take 12,750 if anyone's nice and quick. Underbidder, would that help you out? 12,750 it does. Thank you, County Durham. You're in at £12,750 at the bid. At 12,750, 12,750 and 13 back in. At £13,000 is the bid. At 13,000, 13,000. Take another 250 if you wish to go again anywhere else. At 13,000, 13,000. Are you finished and done online? Would you like to go again? 13,250. Yes, please, they say. At 13,250's in online. County Durham bidder now. The bid is with you at £13,250. 13,500. 13,500 it goes on. At 13,500. Say 750 for one more. At 13,000, 13,500. At 13,500, are we all finished? At 13,500, are we all done? Last chance in fair warning then. The bid is here. Online. At 13,500, all finished and done at 13,500. That is provisionally with you online at 13,500, and that is to 1047. Right, moving down we go to lot number 249, 1931 in the year. It's the Singer, second Singer in the sale. It's the Light 6 Saloon. Lovely Singer model this is. I'm straight in, on the book with me at £1,000. At £1,000's bid. Say 1,200 next. At £1,000 on the Singer here. At £1,000 is bid now at 1,000. 1,200's in. At £1,200 my interest is out already. At 1,200 a bid, 14 bid on the phones. At 1,400, 1,400 online or in the room, anyone like to go 16? At 1,400, 1,400, 16's bid now online bid. At £1,600 is the bid now at 16. 18 bid now back to Damien's telephone at £1,800. At 1,802, two's back in now at 2. At £2,000. At £2,000 is the bid now at 2. 2 twos back in on the phone at 2,002. At 2,000, 2,002 we are bid. At £2,200 is the bid now at 2,002. 2 fours back in now at 2,004. 2,6 new bidder at 2,006. Welcome to you in Norfolk. Early day bidder there as well. Welcome back at 2,006. At 2,006. At 2,006 we're bid. At 2,006. Yeah, why not? 2,700. 2,700's in on the telephone. At 2,007. 2,800. We'll stay in the hundreds now. At 2,000, 2,008. At 2,800, we're bid now at 2,008. Are we finishing done? Would you like to go 2,900 on the phone? At 2,008. 2,900 already. Welcome to you in Aberdeen. At 2,009, your bid. At 2,000, 2,009. At 2,009, we're bid now at 2,009. Coming back in for the 3. At 2,009, are we finished and done on this one here? At 2,009. Walking away on the telephones. At 2,009, would anyone else like to come in now? At 2,009. At 2,000, 2,900, all finished and done then. Last chance in fair warning then. At 2,900 once. Online bid at 2,900 twice, goes this time and away, and selling at 2,009. Sold your way at £2,900. 3,855. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a short break and hand you over to Steve, who will take you through the next 10 minutes or so, maybe a bit less. Thank you.
10 minutes, Tom? You said 2. Let's hope I don't get stuck for words. That's not going to happen, is it? Now, people will say in this classic car auction game, when is the Ford bubble going to burst? Well, not anytime soon, I don't think. And that's because we keep finding great cars with a fantastic history in superb condition. And there's a theme with the three that I'm going to talk about now. Cast iron originality. We know that's what a lot of people are going to look for. Let's start with this one. Ford Escort XR3i. Yesterday we had our bike sale here at Manor Park. Up on our new mezzanine. El Felipe, could you show people our mezz up there? Which is where the bikes are stored, the bikes are displayed, and the bikes are sold. And I was enthusing about a Honda CBR 600. It was a do-anything bike from the same era as this XR3. It did all kinds of jobs. What I'm trying to say is, previously, the sort of bloke who would have had an XR3i, it probably was a bloke, might also have had a little sports car like an MG Midget or something like now. What Ford did with this car was to build a car that was a practical family hatchback and a five-seater, perfect for a young family, but was also a great-looking performance sports car. We forget how unusual it was to have an affordable family car that had a five-speed gearbox, that had a spoiler, that had alloy wheels. This car has a comprehensive history that comes with it, and we know that that's what people are looking for. They're also looking for, if possible, complete originality, and that's rare. Because like me, you might have owned a car like this, and the first thing that you did to it, you changed the wheels, you put a loud exhaust on it, you fitted a big mad stereo system, you cut away at this parcel shelf to put some big old 9-inch jobs in there. Originality gone. Originality only happens once. Look at this car, look at that. If Phil could just show you here. Look at these seats. Obviously not a smoker, because of course 1988, a lot of people smoked, and so this interior would have been ruined. And of course, how many come with the original Ford with the green digits on there? Do you remember that? For some reason, they were always in green. Radio cassette. 112,000 miles from new, spent 20 years in a barn, this one, was only brought out recently, and yes, it has had a respray. But it's got the original dealer sticker in the back window, dealer number plates. Now, we know you can get that sort of thing off the internet, but it just adds to the whole package, doesn't it? It's like it's 1988 again. I like 1988. I had hair, and I was single. Long name on this car, look at this, I might have to read it. 1992 Ford Sierra Sapphire RS Cosworth 4x4. This one from 1992. I mean, what a car in its time. Obviously four-wheel drive, not as leery as the rear-wheel drive. Again, five-speed gearbox. Look at these seats. This is the Raven interior. And if you're looking in there thinking, well, that's not the original radios, that's, you know, like a Pioneer. They didn't have a Pioneer in. Well, the vendor that's offering this car for sale has made sure that the original radio comes with it. Anything that isn't there, like that's not the original wheel, we don't think, but we have that as well. Massive history on this one. Again, something that you don't often see, because cars go through all sorts of owners, they've got busy lives, you're young, you're up to all sorts. You can't keep notes on what's been done to your car, who did it, how much it cost, when it was done. This car comes, there's a book, there's literally a book that comes with this car. And look at that, Glebe Garage in Widnes, just down the road from where we are here in Runcorn. The original sticker in the back window. And of course, the glass has been etched as a security measure, because these did have a tendency to go missing back in the day now, and I'm sure they might do. Now let's move over to this one, which Tom's going to bring. We're joined by our chairman, Stephen. Do you want a word with everyone, Stephen?
Yeah, just want to welcome everybody to today. We've got the new mezzanine open, so we've got all the bikes on the top. We had a fantastic sale day yesterday, didn't we? And then it means that we can devote the entire ground floor now to cars, which was, when we opened, that's what we did. And we've gone from 20 bikes in our first sale to over 150 yesterday. and we achieved 75%, so delighted with that. So welcome everybody. I'll pass you back to Steve.
Well, thank you. You don't fancy this, do you? He does like it. I think we all like it, and I think it's going to be popular. I'm not sure that this might be your speed. It's more of a car for a young man or a young woman, isn't it? It's the Fiesta XR2. Over here, Felipe. Let's have a look at this one. XR2, 1982. A really straight, honest Mark 1 XR2. Original silver with the right decals, with the grey cloth interior. Around this time, I was dating a young lady who had the gear, and it had velour, big velour seats. Not much room in the back, as I remember. Moving swiftly on, of course, we've got the spoiler there, the black painted. Of course, that was sporty. You didn't want a chrome bumper, did you? You want a black painted one. This fantastic. It's so evocative, isn't it? Especially when it's got these stickers. It's got a rear wash wipe there. That was again, all the things that we think have become standard on any car, things you'd expect. This is the era when they started to appear on cars. And you only got them on this one, which would have been the top of the range. And again, that theme that we come back to, originality. An incredibly original car, an incredibly straight car. And one of the reasons that there are so few of these left in anything like this sort of condition is because people use them for what they were made for. Going far too fast. And so few of them survived, some of them were rotten. Let's have a look inside. Let the good people have a look inside here. Look at that. I think we've got a sharp radio cassette player with ANSS. Here comes Tom, our auctioneer. Get up on that stage, lad. We've got to keep the momentum going. We've got the cloth interior here on the doors. Those speakers might go with that. But again, originality. And that's what it's all about. You know, as I said at the start here, people are asking, when is this Ford bubble going to burst? Well, I think when we run out of cars like this, absolutely straight, completely original, and people can then invest the sort of money required to get a car like that at auction with confidence, because there are so few of them. But we haven't done too bad in finding you three here today. I think Tom's ready up there on the stage to restart. Are you, Tom? Ready to rock and roll? Had his little comfort break, as the Americans would say. So what I will do is shut up and let Tom back in. And somebody's going to get themselves a fantastic, original Ford XR2.
Yes, the XR2 here. Look at this one. Lovely little Ford. We love our fast Fords at the moment. This is a great looking thing. And we're going to go straight in with my commission interest at £5,000. At 5,000's bid. At £5,000, say 5,500 if you're coming in. You in online? At 5,000, 5,500 you do. At 5,005. At 5,005's the bid. I'm out already at 5,005. Welcome to you in Somerset. At 5,005, your bid, 6 bid. At 6,000 now. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6. Norfolk bidders in at 6. Would anyone like to go another 5? At 6,005 you're in. Online bid. At 6,005. Somerset bidder now at 6,005. At 6,000, 6,005 is the bid now at 6,005. Say 7 if you're coming in. 7 you do, thanking you online. Nottinghamshire bidder, you're in now at £7,000. At 7,000, 7,000. Would anyone like to go 5? Are we finished and done? £7,000 is the bid here online. At £7,000, 7,500. Gentleman's bid now at 7,500. Thank you, sir. At 7,005. At 7,000, 7,005. Say 8,000 if you wish to go again online. At 7,005, the bid is here in the room. At 7,005. At 7,000, 7,005, are we finished and done? We'll take the quarters from this point then. At 7,005, gentleman's bid. 7,750 if you wish to come back in or anywhere else. At 7,005, are we finished and done? At 7,000, 7,005, we'll count it down then. Gentleman's bid, 7,750. Oh, sorry, I took a floor bidder just here. Gentleman's bid there at 7,750. Online, you were too slow. Bid again, please. At 7,750, your bid in the middle. At 7,750, would anyone like to go 8? 8,000 you do, just behind you, sir, at £8,000. Would you like to go another 250? 8,250 you do. At 8,250 is the bid now at 8,250. At 8,005, thank you again, sir. 8,005. 8,750's next. Shakes the head, your bid, sir. At 8,005. At 8,000, 8,005. Online, we look for you now at 8,005. Or anyone else in the room would like to have a go on this one? At 8,005. Coming back in. At 8,000, 8,005. At 8,500. Last chance in fair warning, then we will submit the bid. 8,750. Other gentleman's back in now at 8,750. At 8,750 is the bid. At 8,750 pounds. Thank you very much, sir. 9,000 comes back in. Gentleman's bid at 9,000. Two gentlemen in the room against each other now at 9,000 pounds. 250 again? No. Okay, at 9,000 pounds. At 9,000, 9,000, are we finished and done? I'll tell you what about 9,1, sir? Can I bring you back in for another 100? 9,1, thank you. At 9,001, we're down to the small bites now. Will you come back in for 9,2, sir? 9,001 here, would you like one more? 9,2 they do, at 9,002. Shakes the head again at 9,002. Say 9,3 from anywhere else. At 9,000, 9,002. Online bidders, would you like to come back in on this one? The XR2 Ford Fiesta here. At 9,002. Say 9,003 if you want to go again. Are you sure, sir? You've come this far. It's been a good battle. Walking away. 9,002. At 9,000, 9,200. We'll count you down then. At 9,200 once. At 9,200 twice. Finished and done at £9,200. Provisionally with you, sir. What was your panel number? Is it 30, isn't it? 30, thank you. 30, £9,200. Provisional, only just. We'll make that phone call, and I'm sure that'll be another one that comes through. When we say about making the phone calls and getting them sold, lot number 218, Audi TT Quattro Sport, sold away at £11,500. Lot number 201, the first lot of the day, the Rover P6, sold away at £5,000. Just a couple of little updates also coming through from the bike sale yesterday. Lot 122, lot 137, two of the motorbikes from yesterday, also now sold. The work never stops here at Manor Park Classics, ladies and gentlemen. The car is always, or the vehicle is always on sale. Lot number 251's up next. Lot number 251, 1991 Porsche 944 Cabriolet. Look at this one here with the titanium grey. Looks great indeed. I'm going to start off with your interest there at £3,000. At 3,000 is the bid. Say 3,500 next if we can at the minute. At £3,000. We'll go in the 500s for now. At 3,000 is the bid. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. At £3,000 we're bid now at 3. 3,500's bid now at 3,005. At 3,005 takes my interest out now at 3,005. We'll go in the quarters now if it helps anyone out. My interested bidders out. At 3,005 you're in online. At 3,535. At 3,005 is the bid now at 3,500. 3,750 new bidder this time. At 3,750 you're in the lead. At 3,750 the bid is with you. At 3,750 would anyone like to go for? At 3,750 are we finished and done? At 3,750, 3,750. At 3,750 is your last chance in fair warning. We will submit the bid today, so make no mistake. At 3,750 once. Four's back in now at 4. New bidder again at £4,000 in Liverpool this time. At £4,000 is with you now at 4,000. 4,250 in the middle. At 4,250, thank you for coming in, sir. Your bid. At £4,250, we are bid. At 4,250, 4,250. At 4,250, either one of the online bidders, would you like to come back for one more? At 4,250, the bid is here. At 4,250, 4,250, are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning, this time and away it goes. At 4,250, we'll count it down then. At 4,250 with the bid here. At 4,250 once, twice. Oh, 4,500, Ireland, leave it a little later next time. At 4,500. At 4,500, would you like one more? At 4,500. It's off to Ireland at the minute with the bidder in Dublin. At 4,500. At 4,500 is bid. One more, sir. You walking away? Having a good look? I'll let you have a good look there. At 4,500. Would you like to go 4,600? Does that help you out? Shakes the head. It's online here at 4,500. We'll count it down then with the online bid in Ireland. Once, twice. Finished and done at £4,500. That is provisionally with you online in Ireland at 4,500. 4,188. Thanking you very much there, Ireland. We will get in touch with you very shortly. Moving on to lot number 252, 1952. Morris Minor. We've got a lovely little Morris Minor. The saloon here, then we go. No reserve today. Where are we going to go on this one? Start me off on this one. Who's got £1,000? Morris Minor, £1,000. Start me off. How about £500 to get it going today then? £500. £500 surely. Come on online. Thanking you, you're in at 500 bid. We'll go in hundreds now. Hampshire bidder at 5 and 6. At 600 we've started now. At £600 is the bid now at 6. At 600, 600, no reserve, it must be sold. So make no mistake when bidding here, at 600 is the bid. At 600, 600. At 600 we'll take 7 now if anyone else is interested. At £600, 7's bid. At 700 the bid now, 700 with you online at £700. Take 8 from anywhere else. Bidding, 800 up on the mezzanine before you online. At £800, gentleman's bid now at 8. At 800, 800, 800, are we finishing done then? At £800 with the gentleman on the mezzanine, hammers up. Anyone else for 9, all finished, all done, once, twice, finishing done. Your bid, £800. 277, thank you. 277, £800, sold your way. Moving down the list we go. Lot number 253 is in and away next. Lot number 253, 2002 in the year. It's the BMW M3. It's the 3.2 convertible this time. Lovely little M3 this is. Anyone got £8,000 to start me off? Lovely M3 here. 8,000 surely. Let's get it going today. £8,000. Coming in for 8. Lovely convertible this is at just £8,000 surely. Anyone wish to start me off? 8,000, 8,000. Bid online, thanking you. At £8,000. At 8,000 is the bid now at 8. At £8,000 online, opening up here at £8,000. 8.5's in now, Northamptonshire bidder at 8,005. Say 9 if you're coming in. At 8,005. At 8,000, 8,005 is the bid now at 8,005. At 8,005 and 9,000 now, new bidder again and 9.5. 9.5 and 10. Everyone's just woke up to what it was. At £10,000, 10.5. At 10,005. At 10,005 with the online bid here at 10,005. At 10.5, 10.5, 11's bid now at £11,000. At £11,000 is the bid now at 11. At 11,000, 11,000, 11,000. We'll go in the quarters from this point then. We're nearly there. At £11,000, would anyone else like to go again? At £11,000, the bid is here online. At 11,000, 11,000. Take 250, one more. Are we finishing done? The bid is with you online at 11,000 once. At 11,000, 11,000 twice. All finishing done then. Last chance, fair warning at £11,000. Provisionally with you online, 1047's way, £11,000. That is a provisional bid at £11,000. Moving on to lot number 254 is up next then. Lot number 254. We have the 1967, the other Mercedes-Benz 250 SL here. Has had recent mechanical work carried out on it as well. Lovely car. You're straight in at £30,000 with the online bid. Say 32 if we can. At £30,000, 32's bid. At 32, 32. At 32,000 now. With the online bidder here at 32, 34. 34, all online at the minute, at £34,000. At 34, 34. At 34,000 is the bid now at 34. At 34, 34. At 34, would anyone like to go 36? At 34,000 is the bid now at 34. I tell you what, we'll go 35. Coming in for the £1,000 bid. At 34,000, 34. At 34,000, are we struggling to connect to telephone? At 34,000, I'll slow it down. At 34, 34, waiting for the telephone bidders to come in. At 34,000 now. Are we finished and done? 35, 35, new telephones in at £35,000. At 35 on the phones. At £35,000. With you on the telephone at the minute. At £35,000, 36, back in online. At 36 and 37, new bidder again, Northamptonshire at 37,000. At 37, 37. 38's bid now at 38. At £38,000 is the bid now at 38,000. Would anyone else like to go 39 on this one? At £38,000 is the bid now at 38. At 38. This is the one with the lovely red interior as well. The interior looks absolutely amazing on this one. The wooden finish trim and everything. Great looking SL this one is at £38,000. 39, I see you again, waving away on the telephones now at £39,000. At 39,000. At 39. At 39,000 is the bid now at 39. Would anyone else like to come in for 40? At £39,000. 40's against you on the telephone. Back to Northamptonshire. 41, two bidders online again. At 41,000. At 41. At £41,000 a bid now. 41,000 is the bid online here. At £41,000. Looking for you on the telephone or underbidder online. Would you like to go for one more? At £41,000 is the bid now at 41. At 41. Are we finished and done? At 41. Make it smaller, he says. 41.5, how about that? 41.5 your bid. At 41.5. Telephone bidders back in at 41,005. And we're on sale at £41,500. It's gonna go today at 41.5. 42. Northamptonshire heard that and sneak straight back in at £42,000. At 42. We're waiting for the other telephone now. We will go slow on this one. At £42,000. Got to give everyone a chance to get in. Lovely car. At £42,000. Make no mistake when bidding. At 42. At 42. Is that your phone out there? At £42,000. I see the phone goes down. At £42,000 is the bid now at 42. Would anyone else like to come in for another bid? Because it's going to sell today. At £42,000. At 42,000, 42,000 once. At £42,000 twice, and it sells with the online bid, and away it goes at £42,000. Sold at 42,000. Thank you very much, online bidder. 4439, that is yours. Thanking you. Moving on down the list we go. Lot number 255, 1998 in here. This is another lovely little landy, this one. It's the Defender, it's the 110. It's been done out to be a bit of a camper, so you can drive anywhere and you can sleep anywhere. There you go. Look at that one, straight in at £10,000. At £10,000. At 10 and 11's bid online. 11 and 12 back to me. At £12,000 now at 12. At 12,000 is the bid now at 12. 1998 in the year. It looks absolutely immaculate, this one. At 13,000, my interest is out. You're in online. At £13,000. At 13,000. We're running 500s now. 13.5 if you're coming in. At £13,000. On the Land Rover here at £13,000. Would anyone like to go 13.5? 13.5. 14's in. £14,000, two bids online. At 14,000. 14.5, I see you, sir. This, the whistle, it confuses me. It echoes all around the building. I never know where to look. 14.5, 15's in. 5 back in again. At 15.5. At 15.5, you bidding? 16,000 down the front. 16.5 up top. 17? 17. And on sale, 17.5 at top. 18,000. 5. 19. 5. Straight back in. 19.5. Would you like 20, sir? £20,000. Shaking the head. You might have done it this time, sir. At £20,000. Seated bidder at the front. At 20,000. 20,000. I'm going to put the gavel straight up. At £20,000. Thank you for your bid, sir. At 20,000. It goes once, twice. Finished and done. It's selling now at £20,000. Sold your way. Thank you very much. At £20,000. What was your bidder number there, sir? 727. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. 727. Moving on to lot number 256, 1976 in the year. It's the Ford Escort 1.3 gear. Look at this one. Family-owned Mark II Escort here. Who's got £5,000 to start me off? Lovely little gear here. Surely worth £5,000. 5 to go. Get it going today. £5,000. In online. At £5,000. Say 5.5 next. At 5,000 we start online. At 5,000, 5,000. At £5,000 with the online bid now at 5. 5.5. 5,500 now. At £5,500 is bid. At 5,005, take it to 6 for me. At 5,005. At 5,500, we are bid. At 5,005. At 5,000, 5,005 is the bid now at 5,005. Are we all finishing done? At 5,005 on the gear this time and away then. Last chance in fair warning. At 5,500, we will count it down in sixes back in Ireland bidder. At £6,000. At 6,000, 6,000, say 5 if anyone else is coming in now. At £6,000. Ireland bidder is with you at the minute. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6. 6.5's in. At £6,500, 2 online bidders now. At £6,500, the bid is with you now in Cheshire. At £6,500. At 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. Would anyone like to go 7? Are we finished and done here? At 6,005. I'll tell you what, we'll go to the quarters. Shouldn't need to, but we will. At 6,005. Would you like a small bite underbidder? At 6,005. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning. I will submit the bid to the vendor. It goes once, it goes twice. All finished, all done at £6,500. Provisionally with you online at 6,005, and that's 1102, isn't it? 1102, £6,500. That is provisionally with you. Moving on down, we go to lot number 257. Lot number 257. 1990 is the year. It's the Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit 2 this time. There we go. Straight in with my commission interest at 3, 3.5, £4,000 we start. At £4,000. At £4,000. 4.5 bid online. I'm out already at £4,500. Your bid now. 5's bid. At £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000. At 5,000 on the Rolls-Royce this time and away. At £5,000 is the bid now at 5. At £5,000, would you like to say 5.5? At £5,000 is bid. At 5,000, 5,000, are we finished and done here? At £5,000, I'll take the quarter now. Shouldn't need to again, but we will. At £5,000, would you like the quarter bite? At 5,000, are we all finished and done here? The bid is online with you. At £5,000, say 250 for one more. At 5,000, 5,000 once. At 5,000 twice. All finished, all done. At £5,000. That is your bid provisionally with you online. 1056 again. Thank you very much. That is a provisional bid there. 1056. We'll see what we can do for you. Moving on down the list we go. Lot number 258. Another lovely little BMW in today's sale. It's the 2004. It's the 330i this time. It's on the E46 chassis. Where are we going to go with this one? And the Alpine White as well. Look at that. Looks great indeed. I'm going to go straight in at £3,000 we start. At £3,000. We'll say 3-2 next. 3-2. 3-2. 3-2's bid online here at 3,002. Okay, I'll talk to you after. At 3,002. 3-4, anyone else? Coming in for the 3-4. At 3,002. At 3,002 with the online bid here at minute. At 3,200 is bid. Would anyone like to go again? Are we finished and done? At just 3,200, make no mistake. At 3-2. At 3,000, 3,002 is the bid now at 3,002. Once, twice. Finished and done then at £3,200. Again, it's provisional online. It's 1084 and it's £3,200. That is a provisional bid. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe there's a Range Rover. Is that the number plate there?
Yes, that's it.
So the number plate is 1VHH. I believe you're blocking someone in. If you could move your car, that would be much appreciated because someone can't get out. So that was a Range Rover 1VHH number plate. Thank you very much and much appreciated. Moving on to lot number 259. Here we go. I love this one. 1988 is the year. The Ford Escort XR3i in that red there. Lovely looking car this is. Several commission bids on my sheet, but I see online is already above them, so we'll start there at £5,000. At 5,000 straight in online. At £5,500, 6,000 now. XR3 high, look how great it looks in the red. It's £6,500 with the online bidder and 7. At 7,000, 7,000. At £7,000 is the bid now at £7,000. Would anyone like to go 5? At £7,000. At 7,000, 7,000. I'll tell you what, we'll go in the quarters. Would anyone like a 250? At £7,000. With the online bid here, it's off to Essex at the minute at £7,000. Say 250, one more. Are we finished and done at just 7,000? 7,250, gentleman's bid. Thank you, sir. At 7,250. 7.5 back in online. At 7,005. At 7,005 is the bid now at 7,005. Would you like to go again? At 7,005. At 7,005 is bid. The bid is here online, 7,750. Gentlemen's back in, thank you very much, sir. At £7,750, we are bid. At 7,750, we're waiting for you online. Would you like to go again? At 7,750, the bid is against you online. Gentlemen's bid here. Anyone else like to have a go on this one? At 7,750, we'll count it down, so make no mistake. At 7,750 once on the XR3i. At £7,750 twice, all finished and done then at £7,750. That's your bid, sir, at £7,750. 2602, 602. £7,750 provisionally. Moving on to lot number 260. Lot number 260. 1966 Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint Veloce. Over to you, Steve.
The star of our sale, Tom. Look at it. What a magnificent car. When it comes to cars like the 1966 Alfa Romeo Giulia, you're looking for the Sprint, the three-door coupe. It did, of course, come as a saloon. Then you might be thinking, I wonder if I could afford a Sprint GT, which is a slightly hotter one. If you had deep pockets, you might have stretched to an Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint GT Veloce, which is the really hot one. A compact sports saloon, they were all at it back then, of course. Back in the mid-60s, of course, Ford had the Lotus Cortina, or was it the Cortina Lotus? I'm never sure which way around that is officially supposed to go. I think it was interchangeable at the time. Now, obviously this was a very desirable car in its time, but the amount of work that's been done to it, I've tried to remember it, but I can't, so I'm going to read it off the card so I get it right. Very rarely do we have to stretch to 2 pages of A4 to tell you what's been done to the car, but on this occasion, that has been just about what we could squeeze it onto. So we've got a 2-litre twin-spark engine in this, originally from the boxy but good Alfa Romeo 75, rolling road tuned in 2021. It's got Omex ignition, a 5-speed revised manual gearbox, twin Weber 45s, and Alfa enthusiasts like myself will know this name only too well, Alfaholics, because that's where we spent far more money than we ever planned on doing or wanted to do, but somehow that happened. Ask me how I know. I restored a 1971 Alfa Romeo Spider 2-litre Veloce, and without Alfaholics, I couldn't have done it. Alfaholics Sport exhaust and manifold, Alfaholics cooling pack, fueling system, oil breather, lightweight battery tray, limited slip diff, Alfaholics fast road suspension kit, Bilstein shocks on the front, Coney's on the back. The list goes on and on. One of the best examples of this car, resto modded to within an inch of its beautiful existence. Styled by Giugiaro, of course. I actually met the great man at the Pebble Beach Concourse in California. And I'll never forget, he had the best hair I think I've ever seen on the male of the species, and he's probably the greatest car designer of them all. I haven't got time, and I'm sure you haven't got the patience of me to list all of the work that has been done to this immaculate car, which is absolutely ready to go right now. But what I will say is this. Think of this as like one of those Singer Porsches. You know what they do? They get a classic Porsche in the 60s or the 70s, and they make it a thoroughly modern car, apart from the looks department, which they retained. That's what's happened here. It's ready to go on the road or in competition. A Singer Porsche, but with Italian style. Bellissimo, Tom, bellissimo.
Let's go then, ladies and gentlemen, the Veloce. Let's start it off with straight in at 20,000, 22, 24, 26,000 pounds is bid. Say 28 if you're coming in now. At 26,000 pounds, we started 28 and 30 back to me. At 30,000 now. At 30,000, 30,000 in twos in online at 32. 34,000 back to my commission bidder now at 34. At 34,000 pounds at 34. At 34, 34, 36. My interest is out now. You're in online. At 36,000 pounds, we are bid. At 36,000 pounds. At 36,000 is the bid now at 36. Should we say 37 next? At 36,000 pound is the bid now 36. At 36, 36. Find another that looks this good here. At 36,000 pounds is your bid online. At 36,000 is the bid now at 36. At 36,000 pounds is the bid now, at 36,000 pounds. On the Alfa here, at 36,000 pounds, you coming in for one more anywhere else online and around the world? Would you like to go again? At 36,000 is the bid. At 36. At 36,000 is the bid now, at 36,000 pounds. We are bid at 36,000 with you online at 36,000. At 36, say 37 anywhere else. If you're coming in, it's now or never. At 36,000 pounds, the bid. At 36,000, we're going to start counting it down. We can't keep it open forever. At 36,000 pounds, got to be fair to the bidder online. At 36,000, would you like to go 37? At 36,000 pounds is bid. All finished, all done. Last chance. Fair warning then, at 36,000 once. At 36,000 twice. All finished and done then at 36,000 pounds. Provisional with you online at 36,000 pounds, and we are going to 1102. That is a provisional bid at 36,000 pounds. Provisionally with you online bidder. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. We are a little way to go on that one, so please do see what we can do online. I can't go to the next one in a minute. There we go. Moving on to lot number 261. Lot number 261, 2004 Mercedes-Benz SL500. Lovely convertibles these are. It's got the premium hardtop convertible as well. V8 performance. It's a bit of a machine, and we're in online at £3,000. At £3,000 is the bid now at 3. So we say 3-2. At 3,000 coming in for the 2. At 3,000 is bid. 3-2's in online. At 3,002. 3-4. At 3,004 is bid now at 3,004. Coming in for one more. 3-6 you do. Thank you online. Your bid now at 3,006. 3-8's bid. At 3,008. At 3,800. Your bid in Manchester at the minute at 3,008. 4's bid. 4,000. Go 2, one more. At £4,000 is the bid now at 4. 4-2 back in now at 4,002. 4-4. I see you waving away at 4,004. At 4,004, telephone bidder at 4,004. 4-6 is back in. At 4,006. At 4,006, we are bid now at 4,006. It's not you on the telephones, it's here online. At 4,006, would anyone else like to go again? I see you, sir. 4-8, thank you very much. At 4,008, 5. 5 bid on the phones. 2, back in now, 5-2. At 5,002, gentleman's bid. At 5,002, would anyone like to go again? 5-4 is in online this time at 5,004. 5-6, thank you again, sir, at 5,006. At 5,600, gentleman's bid on the mez. At 5,006. At 5,006, would anyone else like to have a go? Yes, they do. 5-8. 5-8, 6,000, thanking you again, sir. At £6,000, the bid is yours. At 6,000. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6,000. Say 2 for one more if you're coming in. At £6,000, gentleman's bid here at 6. At 6,000, are we all finished and done? 6-2, new bidder entirely this time at 6,002, 6-4, thank you. At 6,000, it wasn't you online, I took the gentleman's bid first. Online in Liverpool, would you like to go again? If it helps you out, we're on outright sale. I'll take 6-5, we'll go in hundreds as soon as it's in the market. Gentleman's bid, we're going to speed you up there. Got to be fair to the gentleman on the mezzanine. At 6,004 once. At 6,005. At 6,006, thank you again, sir. Appreciate the speedy bidding. At 6,006, your bid's yours. At 6,006, we'll count it down again. At 6,600, all finished and done. At 6,600, the hammer's up once, twice. 6, 7, 6-8, sir? 6-8, thank you. At 6,008. At 6,008, gentleman's bid. 6-9's back in Liverpool. At 6,009 and 7 bid. At 7,000 now. It sells today, so make no mistake. At £7,000, the bid is against you online. Hammer's up once, hammer's up twice. 7-1's back in now, 7,001, 7-2 this time. 2 bidders still online. At 7,002. At 7,002, would you like to go 7-3? 7-3 already in. At 7,003. At 7,300, we are bid online. At 7,003, would anyone else like to go again? At 7,003, hammers up again. At 7,003, are we finished and done? We're going to sell. We'll count it down. The online bid has it. At 7,003 once. At 7,003 twice. All finished and done. 7,4 bid now. 7,004's in and away. At 7,004. At 7,4. At 7,400, the bid then once, twice, hammers up, and away we sell. This time, away it goes at 7,400. £400, finished and done at 7,004. Sold at 7,400. Moving on down we go to lot number 262, 1966 MG midget, 1100 there. Nice little midget, this one. Going to go in £20,000, MOT exempt. Where are we going to go? Start me off. I've got a bid on the book. We'll start it there. £4,000. Four's bid. At 4,000, we'll say 2. At £4,000. At 4,000 is the bid now at 4,000. Would anyone like to go 2? At 4,000, 4,000. My commission interest at the minute, at £4,000, go 2 if you're coming in. At £4,000 is bid. At 4,000, 4,000, are we finished and done? 4,2, 4,4 back to me though, at 4,004. One more might do it if you're coming back in for one more. At 4,004. At 4,000, 4,400, on the book with me, at 4,400, are we finished and done? At 4,000, 4,004. At 4,400, last chance in fair warning this time and away. At 4,000, 4,004, are we finished and done? At 4,004, I'll take 4,500 if it helps anyone else come in on this one, but at 4,004, I'm going to count you down. At 4,004, once. At 4,400, twice. All finished, all done then at £4,400. We are provisional if you're watching online at £4,400. That is a provisional bid. We're very, very close. Bidder was 3018. We'll be in touch. Thank you very much. Moving on to lot number 263, the second one in the sale, the 2004. This one's the Honda S2000 here. Lovely S2000, this one. This one's pretty damn immaculate. I love it. And we're going to go straight in at £5,000. At 5,000, say 5. At £5,000 is the bid now at 5,000, 5,000. 500 if you're coming in. At £5,000. Only showing 76,000 miles. MOT until June. At 5,000 the bid is online. At £5,000. At £5,000 is the bid now at 5. Say 5,250 if anyone else wishes to bid. At just £5,000 the bid is here online. 5,250 you're in. At 5,250, 5,500. 5,500, 5,750. A few bidders this time. At 5,750 say 6. At £5,750 we are bid. With you here in Kent at the minute at 5,750. Would anyone like to come in? 6 you do. Thank you online. At £6,000. 6,250's bid. It's Kent versus Essex at the minute. At 6,250 we are bid. At 6,250 say 6,500. Lovely example of a Honda S2000 this is. At 6,250 the bid is here online. Would anyone like to go 6,500? Last chance in fair warning. Make no mistake here. At 6,250 we're going to count you down. At 6,250 the bid then once. At £6,250 the bid then twice. 6,500's in now at 6,005. New bidder out of nowhere. 6,750 it goes on. At 6,750 we are bid. Say 7 if you wish to go again underbidder. At £6,750, last chance. 6,750 and 7's bid. At 7,000 now. 250 back in at 7,250. At 7,250, 7,250, would you like to go 7,500? At 7,250 we are bid. At 7,250, 7,250. At 7,250, we'll count it down then. At 7,250, the bid is here online. It's off to Kent. At 7,250, the bid then once. At £7,250, the bid then twice. All finished, all done at £7,250. Provisionally with you online at £7,250. Quite close on that one. 8,562. We'll see what we can do. We'll be in touch shortly. Thank you very much online. Moving on. Something a little bit special here then. Lot number 264, 1992, the Ford Sierra Sapphire RS Cosworth. Look at this one. A lovely, unmolested example this is. And we're going to go straight in with my interest here. 6, 7, 8, 9, £10,000 at just £10,000 for a Cosy here. At 10,011. 11's in and 12 back to me. At 12,013 will you? At 12 and 13's bid. 13,000 now. My interest is out. The bid is in online. At £13,000. Say 14's bid. At 14,000, 14,000. The RS Cosworth here at just £14,000. At 14,000, 14,000. 15's in and away. At 15 and 16. Before you online, we'll take the gentleman's bid at the front at 16,000, 17's bid. At 17,000, 18 already. At 18,000 pounds. At 18,000, 18,000. At 18,000, we'll go in the 500s now. 18.5 if you wish to bid again. At 18,000 pounds. 18.5 online. Devon bidder now at 18.5, 19,000 pounds. All over the United Kingdom, this one's going. At Staffordshire's in at 19,005 back in. At 19.5 and 20,000 pounds now. At 20,000, 20,000. The bid is with you online. At 20,000, anyone like to come in the room for one more? At 20,000, 20,000. Seems cheap to me. At 20,005. 21 straight back in. Thank you for your fast bids there. At 21,000 pounds. At 21.21. At 21,000 pounds is the bid now. 21.5. At 21.5, 22. At 22,000 pounds. At 22.22. At 22,000 pounds now. At 22,000 pounds. This has got speedy bidding on it. At 22,000 pounds. Say 5 for one more. At 22,000 pounds. I'll tell you what. Hammers up and we're selling today on the Cosworth now at 22,000 pounds. I need to see another 5 if you wish to go on, but it's going to sell. It's in the market at 22,000 pounds. Are we all finished? Are we all done? At 22,022. At 22,000 pounds is the bid now at 22 and a half's back in now at 22,005. At 22,500 here on the RS Cosworth now at 22,005. At 22.5, 22.5. Would anyone like to go 23? At 22.5 is the bid. At 22,005. At 22.5 the bid now, 22.5 and 23's back in now. Stoke-on-Trent bidder, you're in at 23,000 pounds. At 23.23. At 23,000 is here. At 23, would anyone like to go again? Bid is with you online at 23,000 pounds. Are we finished and done then? At 23,000 pounds, hammers up at 23,000. Last chance in, fair warning, it's going to sell. 23.5's back in, new bidder Lincolnshire. You're in now on the Sapphire Cosworth here at 23,500 pounds is the bid. At 23.5. At 23.5, would anyone like to go 24? At 23,500, we are bid now at 23,005. The hammer's up and away it sells. At 23,005. Once. At 23,005. Twice. At 23,500 pounds. Last chance in, fair warning. It's hammer time now on the RS Cosworth, and it goes at 23,500 pounds. Sold at 23,500. Thank you very much. 23,500. 15958. Perfect. 1958. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the underbidders as well. Good little battle. Thank you. Moving on to lot number 265. 2,000 in a year. Mitsubishi 2-litre GLS. It's the estate there, and we're straight in with your bid at 3,000. I'll take it. My commission interest is out already. Online at 3,000. Say 3.2 if you're coming in. 3.2 bid. At 3,002, 3.4. 3.4's bid now at 3,004. Say 3.6 if you wish to go again. At 3,004. At 3,000, 3,004 is the bid now at 3,006. I'll take the gentleman's bid, 3.8's in. 4's bid. At 4,000 pounds. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. 4.2's back in online. At 4.4. 4.4 before you online. Floor bidder was there first. At 4,004, we'll give you a chance to come back in. Would you like to go again? At 4,004, gentleman's bid. 4.6 is back in now at 4,006. At 4,006. Would you like 4.8? 4.8's bid and on sale from this point. Hammers up again at 4,008 and 5,000's in online. Say 2 again if you want to go again. 5.2, thank you, sir. At 5,002, gentleman's bid at 5,002. 5.4's back in. At 5,004. Shakes the head now at 5,004. The bid is online. Would anyone else like to go again? We'll stay in the 200s at 5,004. At 5,000, 5,004. Hammers up and we're selling then at 5,400 once. 5,400 twice. Finished and done and away I sell with you online at 5,400 pounds. Sold at 5,004. Moving on to lot number 266, 2004 in the year, Jaguar XK8. Jaguar XK8, no reserve again, look at that. With a massive 4.2 litre engine in this one. Automatic, only showing 37,000 miles, MOT until August. You're above me already, Nick, there, so we'll go with that. I had 1,000, you're in 15, 2, 2.5, 3, 3, 2. 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4's bid. At 3,006 with the online bid now at 3,006. Little mileage on this one at just 3,006 and 3/8's bid. £4,000 with you in Essex at a minute at 4,000, 4,000. At £4,000 is the bid now at 4. 4-2, gentleman's bid in the room at 4,002. At 4-2, 4-2, 4-2. Would anyone else like to have a go on this one? 4-4 you do. At 4-4, 4-6, 4-8. 5's bid. Stay in the 2s. 5-2. 5-4. Shakes the head. Your bid, sir, at 5,004. At 5,000, 5,004 we're bid. At 5,004 we finish and done. Right-handed, we're not. 5-6. Cheshire bidders in. At 5-6. Would you like 5-8, sir? 5-7? 5-7, okay. 5-7's bid. 5-8 if you're coming in now online. Hammer's up and it's going to go at 5,700 to the gentleman right-handed at 5,007 once, twice. Finish and done. I'm going to sell. Make no mistake at 5-7. Your bid, sir, at 5,007 to 73. Thanking you. 5,700. Your bid. Moving on down the list we go. Lot number 267, 1972 is the Volvo 144. Is the DL Saloon. The DL Saloon, I think it might be this one. It is. There we go. Start me off. Anyone interested at £5,000 for the Volvo here? The 144 DL Saloon. Let me get to the right page. Start me off on this one. MOT exempt as well. £5,000 surely. I'm going to have to go to my commission interest of £3,000. It's a bad start. At £3,000, say 3-5 next. At £3,000. At 3,035 if you're coming in. At 3,005. At 3,005, I'm going to go 4 with me at £4,000. At 4,000, go 5 again. 4.5. My interest is out now at £4,500. At 4,005. At 4,000, 4,005 with the online bid here at 4,005. Like to see 5,000 if we can anywhere else. At £4,500. 5's bid, I see you, sir. Thank you very much. At £5,000. Gentleman's bid. Left-handed now at £5,000. At 5,000, 5.5's against you, sir. Would you like 6? 6,000 back in. Thanking you. At £6,000, it's a lovely Volvo. It looks absolutely great. Gleaming away here. At £6,000. And a half's back in. 6.5. 7 bid. Thank you again. At £7,000, we are bid now at 7. Waiting for the online bid. Would you like to go one more? At 7,000, 7,000. At 7,000, a bid now 7,000. Are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning. Left-handed with the gentleman over here. We will submit the bid today. At £7,000. I'll take a quarter if they're nice and quick. But we're going to count it down. At £7,000, take the quarter now. At 7,000 once. At 7,000 twice. Finished and done then at £7,000. Provisionally with you at 580. Provisional bid at £7,000. We'll see what we can do. Moving on to lot number 268, 1987. It's the Jaguar. It's the XJ12. It's the Sovereign this time, the 5.3 litre Sovereign. Well, you're in online at 3,032. I'm out already at 3,002. Your bid, 3,004. On the Sovereign here. The XJ12 here at 3,004. Say 3.6 if anyone wishes to bid. At 3,004. At 3,000, 3,004 is the bid at the minute. 3.6, I see you, sir, before you online. At 3,006. At 3,006, gentleman's bid. At 3,000, 3,006. At 3,008. At 3,000, 3,008. At 3,800 is the bid now at 3,008. Would anyone like to go 4? 4 is in now 4. At £4,000. Welcome to you in Cyprus at £4,000. The bid is with you at 4,000. At 4,000, 4,000. 4-2's in. At 4,002. Cyprus, would you like to go again? At 4,002. At 4,000, 4,200. We are bid now at 4. Cyprus is back in indeed at 4,004. Is it Paphos? I would guess so. At 4,004 with you. At 4,000, 4,004. Would you like to go 4.6 anywhere else? At 4,000, 4,004. At 4,004, we finished and done. At 4,004, last chance in fair warning. If you're coming back in, it's now or never. Lovely Jaguar this is. At 4,004. We'll count it down then. At £4,400 is bid here online. Make no mistake, it's currently off to Cyprus at 4,400 once. At 4,400 twice. Would you like one more? At 4,400, all finished, all done. At 4,400, hammers up, and I'm selling now at £4,400. Thank you very much in Cyprus. That's yours at £4,400. 19714. Perfect. Moving on to lot number 269 is the 1995, it's the XJS, this time lovely Jaguar again, the 4-litre XJS, finishing the blue and grey leather, looks lovely indeed, and two's bid, 2,000 straight in online, thanking you, at £2,000, let's go 2-2, we'll stay in the 200s, 2-2's bid, 2-4, at 2004 with the online bid, at 2004 and 2006, at 2008 you're in. At 2000, 2008, the bid is here online. At 2008 and £3,000, we are bid now at 3 and 2. At 3,002. At 3,000, 3,002 with the online bid here at 3-2. Would anyone else like to have a go? 3-4 you do. At 3,004. Lovely Jag again. At 3,004. Anyone like the 3-6? At 3,400 is the bid now at 3,004. Are we finished and done? Surely not. At 3,000, 3,004. At 3,400 is bid here online. At 3,004, are we finished and done then? Last chance in fair warning on this one. Lovely car. Seems very, very cheap to me. At 3,400, we'll count it down. At 3,400, the bid then once. At 3,400, the bid then twice. Last chance, let's have a look around. At 3,400, all finished and done. It is provisional online. We are quite a way off on that one. We will still make the phone call, and it is 1096, isn't it? 1096. That is a phone call, provisional. We'll see what we can do for you online. Moving on to lot number 270, 1988. Porsche 911 3.2. And wow, have a good look at this one. And what can you tell us, Steve?
Well, what can I tell you about this car, Tom? 1988 Porsche 911. It's 1984, they revised the 911. This has got the 3.2 air-cooled engine, but with Bosch Motronic engine management. It's got revised suspension, a stronger gearbox. This car was sold new to a chap who was fortunate enough to be resident of Kendal in the South Lakes. And if you remember back in the 80s, you didn't necessarily get all of the things that you would expect in a car now. You had to tick the boxes and you had to pay. And that's exactly what this gentleman did. He ticked the pack for the sports pack on this car. So you got the iconic whale tail spoiler on the back. You got the deeper lip on the front. He specified an electrically powered sunroof. It's got the hi-fi pack. So you've got 8 speakers and a separate amplifier. I think this comes in the best colour combination with these grey pinstripe cloth seats, which are in absolutely phenomenal condition. And of course the exterior, because it was 1988, well, it's got to be Guards red. This car, if you remember, came as a convertible, as a Targa. Awkward looks on the Targa, or is this one a coupe? What I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is, if you're looking for a 1980s air-cooled Porsche 911, then this is the one. It's the best colour combination. Guards red with a grey interior. It's the best specification. It's got the sport pack, it's got the hi-fi stereo system, and it's got the electrically operated sunroof. Forged Fuchs alloy wheels, but here's the best bit. The history on this car is incredible, and the condition, well, Tom, the condition is superb. In fact, Tom, das ist ein wunderbar Auto.
I have not touched up on my German, but you never know. We're straight in at 30,000, 32, 34, 36, 38,000 pounds. All the bidding's been going on online whilst you started speaking there, Steve. At 38,000 pounds. At 38,000 is the bid now at 38. Would anyone like to go 40? At 38,000 for the 911 3.2. Just look how gorgeous this thing looks. At 38,000 pounds. At 38,000, 38 and 40's bid now at 40,000 pounds. At 40,000 pounds is the bid now at 40,000. Say 2 if you're coming back in. We're currently in the West Midlands at 40,000 pounds. At 40,000, 40,000. 42's in now at 42. Cheshire bidder, you're in at 42,000 pounds. At 42,000 is the bid now at 42. Say 44 if you're coming back in. At 42,000 pounds, find another that looks this good. At 44,000 pounds. At 44, West Midlands bidders back. At 44,000 pounds now at 44. Say 46 if you wish to go again. Lovely Porsche this is. At 44,000 pounds is here online in the West Midlands now at 44,000 pounds. At 44, 44. I'll tell you what, let's go 45. At 44,000 pounds, I'll try and help you out. At 45, you're in. At 45,000 is the bid. At 45, 45. At 45, would you like to go 46? Yes, please, they say. They're in now at 46,000 pounds. 47 straight away now at 47. Love the fast bidding here at 47,000 pounds. At 47, 47. At 47,000 is the bid now at 47,000. Say 48 for one more. Would anyone like to come in the room? At 47, 48, online's back in now at 48 and 49. At 49, 49. At 49,000 pounds is the bid now at 49. Would you like to top it up to 50? At 49,000, we are bid here. At 49,000 pounds, the bid is online. Looking for you now for one more. At 49,000, are we finished and done? At 49, 49. At 49,000 pounds, the bid is here then at 49. At 49, 49, are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning. Make no mistake. At 49,000 once. 50,000's in now at 50,000 pounds. 51 against you straight away though, sir, at 51,000 pounds. Speedy bidding online, I like it. At 51,000. At 51, 51. At 51,000 pounds is the bid now at 51. Would you like to go to? At 51,000, we are bid. At 51, 51. At 51,000 is the bid now at 51. Are we finished and done then? The bid is here online. At 51,000 pounds, we are going to count it down. At 51,000 pounds, the bid once. At 51, 52, new bidder West Midlands, you are back in at 52,000 is the bid now at 52. At 52 and 53, it goes on. At 53,000 pounds, we are bid now at 53. Say 54 if you wish to go again. At 53,000 pounds. At 53, 53. German engineering at its finest. At 53,000 pounds, we are bid on the 1988 Porsche 911 Carrera Sport Coupe. At 53,000 pounds, we'll go 53.5 if it helps you back in for one more. We're not dropping the increment anymore. That's as low as we'll go today. We'll sell to the nearest 5. At 53,000 pounds, it's going to go once. At 53, 53 and a half, they're back in West Midlands bidder now. At 53,500 pounds, your bid online. At 53,500. At 53,005, say 54 if you wish to go again. At 53,005, we are bid now at 53,005. At 53,500 is the bid now at 53.5. 54 back in, thanking you at 54,000 pounds. At 54,000 is the bid. At 54.54. At 54,000 pounds, would you like to go for one more? At 54.54. At 54,000, we are bid now at 54,000 pounds. Make no mistake here. At 54,000 pounds, the bid is with you in Chester at 54,000 pounds. Once at 54,000 pounds. Twice at 54,000 pounds. We're finishing done then. The bid is online at 54,000 pounds. That is your bid online. We are very, very close. I'm sure we'll get a deal over the line for you on that. 4, 2, 3, 4. Thanking you very much. 54,000 provisional. Hopefully to get you back an answer before the end of the sale. Thank you very much online. And talking about answers coming back, lot number 259, the Ford Escort XR3i, sold away at £8,000. The next one we move down to is lot number 271. This is the 1989. It's a lovely TVR. It's the S2 here. Looks great again in the red. I'm going to go straight in with my bid at just £2,000. Say 2-2 next. At £2,000 on the TVR here. At 2,000, 2,000. 2-2's bid. 2-2, 2-4. At 2004, I'm out now. At 2004, 2-6. At 2006 with the online 2-8. At 2008 and 3. 3,000's bid. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Your bid online at £3,000. Would anyone like to go two? At £3,000, we are bid now a lovely little TVR here at just £3,000. Would anyone like to come in for one more? At £3,000, the bid is with you online. At £3,000, £3,000, are we finishing done? 3-2, we're not. New online bidder, you're in. At £3,002. At £3,000, £3,200, we are bid now at £3,002. With you now in at £3,002. Underbidder, would you like to go again? Are we finishing done? At £3,002. At £3,200, 3-4, you're back in now at £3,004. At £3,004, say 3-6 next. At £3,004. At £3,000, £3,004 we're bid. Or we finish. Are we done? With the online bidder here at £3,004, say 3-6 from anyone else. We'll count it down then. The bid is online. At £3,400 once. At £3,400 twice. All finished and done then at £3,400. That's your bid online, 1096, 3004, that is provisional. Moving on down the list we go. 1975 is the Triumph Spitfire, and we now have the V5 in the file, I believe, as well. So I think it might say online that we don't have that, but we do now have that, so just get that out there. No reserve today. Love a Spitfire indeed. It's the 1500, no reserve, tidy example. Who's got £1,000 to start me off here? Triumph Spitfire, £1,000 surely to get it gone today. £1,000. Let's go 500 then, surely, come on. Five's in online. Thank you very much. At 500 a bid, 6. 600's in. At £600 now. At 600, 600, your bid online, 7. 7's bid an 8. £800 is bid. 9. 900, 900, and 1,000's in and away. At £1,000. At 1,000 bid. Would anyone like to go 11? 11 you do. At 1,100 now, 12. At 1,200, 1,200, would you like to come in for 13? At £1,200 is the bid now at 1,200. Anyone for 13, 13 you do online. Thanking you at 1,314. At 1,400, 1,400. At 1,400, 1,400. Coming in for the 15. At £1,400 we are bid. 15 back in now at £1,500. At 15 and 1,600. At 1,600 is bid. At 1,600, 1,617 back in. At 17 and 18 is all online, this one, at £1,800. Coming in for the 19. At 1,800 bid here. At 1,800, 1,800. Would anyone else like to have a go on this one? At £1,800, the bid is here, and we're going to sell today at 1,800 for the first time then, with the online bid at 19's in. At 1,900, 1,900. 2,000's bid. At £2,000 now. At 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, say 1 if you want to go again. At 2,000 is the bid now at 2. At 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. 2 1's in. At 2,001. At 2,001, are you finished and done online? At 2,001, the bid is with you. At 2,001. Last chance in fair warning this time and away then. At 2,100, once to the online bidder at 2,001. Twice. Finished and done. Hammers up and away it sells. At 2,000. 2-2. Sneaking in there, sir. At 2,002, thank you for your bid. At £2,200. At 2-2, 2-2, 2-2. Say 2-3 if they want to come back in. At 2,002, gentleman's bid here then. We go once at 2,002. We go 2-3. 2-3's in and away. At 2,003. At 2,003, would you like one more, sir? At 2,003. Shakes the head. Hammers up. At 2,003, we're bid. With you online. At 2,003, we count it down this time and away it goes. At 2,300 once. At 2,300 twice. Are you sure? 2,300 it sells. Sold at 2-3. 16791. Moving down the list to lot number 273. Lot number 273, 2000 Jaguar XJ. This time the 3.2 is the executive edition. I got loads of bids on this one. You've got a few online. Looks great indeed. I believe we got a telephone on this one as well. Going 500s a minute, Nick. 3's bid, 3.5, 4,000, 4.5, 5,000, 5,500, £6,000, and I'd like to see 6.5 next. At £6,000 we start. 6,500. 7's back to me. I'll take a quarter if it helps. 7,250. I'm out, you're in. At 7,250, gentlemen's bid in the room. At 7,250, we are bid. Say 7,500 from anywhere else. Lovely Jaguar this is at just £7,250. At 7,250, 7,250. At 7,250, are we finished and done? Gentlemen's bid here in the room then. At 7,250, hammers up, make no mistake. It's a quick sale this time and away it goes. At 7,250, once, twice. They're out on the, they're in online now then. 7,500, I tried. Shakes the head, you've done it online. At £7,500. Gloucestershire bidder at 7,500. At 7,500. I'll tell you what, I'll take 7,600 if it helps anyone come back in. At 7,500. At 7,000, 7,500. Are we finishing done? Would you like one more? 7,600? Hammers up and away I sell. This time and away it goes off to Gloucestershire then at £7,500. 7,500, thank you.
19437.
19437. Moving on to lot number 274, 1972, the Ford Escort, there we go. I love this one, it looks great, look at the colours on that. Lovely in the blue there, nice Escort. A nice take on an RS Tribute as well, 1972 Ford Escort. Who's got £6,000? Seems reasonable. Start me off today. £6,000 surely. Who's going to put their hand up first? £6,000. I will go to my commission bid of £4,000. It's a bad start. 4,000's in. Online. Coming in. 4.5, we'll say. We go in 500s on this one. We've got a little way to go. £4,000. 4.5, 4,500. At 4,005, 5,000's in. I'm out now. At 5,000, your bid online. At 5,000, 5,000, say 5,500 next. 5,500 at the back of the room. At 5,005. At 5,500, we are bid. At 5,500, 5,500, 5,500. Would anyone like to go 6? Lovely Escort this is at just 5,005. I'll take the quarters if it helps. At 5,005. At 5,005, 5,750 here. 6,000's in, 6,250, 6,500, 6,750, 7,000, 250 straight back in. At 7,250, 7,500, 7,750, 8,000. Shakes the head, your bid, sir, at £8,000. Take 250 from anyone else now. At 8,000, 8,000. At 8,000, we are bid. At £8,000, is that it? Are we done? Are we dusted? At £8,000, we'll count it down. Your bid, sir, at £8,000 for the first time. At £8,000 for the second time. 8,250's in online. West Glamorgan bidder now at 8,250. Would you like to go one more, sir? 8,500, thank you very much, much appreciated. At 8,005, gentleman's bid here at 8,005. Got to speed you up online. Got to be fair to the guy who's been in all the way on this one at 8,500 once. At 8,000, 8,500 twice. All finished, all done. 8,000. Oh, they like a late bid in West Glamorgan. 8,750's in. 9. Thank you very much again. 9,000, gentleman's bid. At £9,000. At 9,000, we're going to go straight to the countdown now. It's just 2 of you left. At 9,000 once to the gentleman here. At 9,000, 9,000. At £9,000, the bid twice. All finished, all done at £9,000. Provisionally with you, sir, at £9,000. And what's your paddle number? 69. Thank you very much. 69. 9,000. Provisional bid. Moving on to lot number 275. 1993. Toyota Celica. Have a good look at this one. It's a little bit different. Don't see very many of these on the roads anymore. This is the ST183, limited to 300 as well. Lovely convertible this is. Very rare. Limited edition. JDM Classics. Like the JDM stuff here. And we're going to go straight in at just £500. I got 2 people that left that bid. The person that left it first can start it off at 5. Say 600 next. At £500 we're bid. 6 is in. I'm out already. At 607. At 700 with the online bidder, 8. £800 is bid. At 800, 809. At £900, 1,000's in online. At £1,000, would anyone like to come in here? At £1,000, we are bid. At 1,100. At 1,100 is the bid now, 11 and 12. 1,200's in online, thanking you for your bids. At 1,200, the bid is with you. At 1,200, would you like to go 13? 13 you do, back in 13. On the Celica here, at £1,300 we are bid. 14's in. At 1,400, coming in for the 15 now. At 1,400 we are bid. Are we finishing done at just 1,400? Make no mistake, 15's in. 1,500, would you like to go 16? 16 you do, thanking you. At 1,600, the bid is yours, Oxfordshire's in at £1,600. Say 17 anywhere else. At 1,600, 17 bid. 1,700's in online. 18's in. 1,800 is the bid now at 18. At 1,800, 1,819's in now at £1,900. 2,000. 2-1. And there's about 3 bidders online now at 2,001. Would anyone like to go 2-2? 2-2 you do. At 2,002. At 2,200 we're bid now at 2,002. 2-3, 2-3, 2-3. At 2,003 we're bid. Say 2-4 if you're going to go again. At 2,003 are we finishing done? At 2,003, 2-4's in. At 2,004 with the Warwickshire bidder now. You're in at 2,004 and 2-5. Back to Oxfordshire it is. At 2,005. At 2,000, 2005, would anyone like to go 2006? At 2005, anyone in the room like to have a go on this one? 2.6 you do online there. Ireland's in now at 2006. At 2,600 we're bid now with the bidder in Ireland now at 2006. Take 2.7 from anyone else. It's to be sold. Hammers up for the first time on this one then at £2,600. 2.7's in at 2007. What's that, Ireland against Ireland as well? Dublin at the minute, you're in at 2007. At 2,000, 2,700, we are bid now at 2007. Are we finishing done online? Would you like to go again for one more? It's your last chance in fair warning. Hammers up once at 2007. Hammers up twice at 2,700. I'm gonna sell 2.8's bid. The other bidder in Ireland, you're back in at 2008, 2.9. At 2009, it's the Battle of Ireland at the minute. At 2009, Dublin, you are in. At 2009. At 2,000, 2009. At 2,900, would you like to go 3? At 2,009, are we finishing done? At 2,000, 2009, hammers up once, hammers up twice. I'm selling to the online bid, this time and away. At £2,900 it sells. Sold at 2.9. Moving down to lot number 276, 1988, Austin Mini. Look at this one, lovely upgraded example with over £20,000 spent on it in the last 3 years. Wow. MOT to July this year, starting off, anyone got £4,000? 4,000 surely, 4's bid, thank you. Saves me starting off with my awful commission bid, £4,000. At 4,000, go 5. At £4,000, gentleman's bid, 4.5 over here. At 4,005. At 4,005, 5's in online. At £5,000. Take 5.5, try it. At 5,005. 6,000's in. 6.5. At 6,005. At 6,005. Take the quarters now. 6,750, 7's in. At £7,000. Look how great this one looks. Find another that looks like this. At £7,250 we're bid. At 7,250, 7,250. At £7,250 we're bid. 7.5 now. At 7,005, I think there's about 4 bidders online on this one at the minute. 7,750 and 8. 8,000 we're bid. 8,250's in. At 8,250, 8.5. It's well in the market now. At 8.5, 8,750. 8,750 and 9. At 9,950, keep going online. 9.5. At 9,005, say 750 for one more. At 9,750 you do. Thank you, Nottinghamshire. You're in at £9,750. We are bid. At 9,750, 9,750. At 9,750, would anyone like to go 10? 10 you do. Thanking you. At 10,000, the bid is yours. At 10,250's in. At 10,250, we are bid. At 10,250, 10,250. Coming in for the 10.5. I'll tell you what, hammers up now. At 10.5's in. Thanking you. At 10,005, say 750 for the next bid. At 10,005, are we finishing done? Hammer time now. At 10,005, finishing done. 10,750's bid. at 10,750. At 10,750, 10,750 and 11. £11,000. Your bid now at 11,000 we're bid. At 11,000 go 250 for one more. Hammers up then at £11,000. At 11 the bid. 250 if you wish to go again online or anywhere else in the room. We'll count it down. 11,250. Thanking you. At 11,250 we're bid. At 11,250. 11 and a half. 11,500. At 11,500 we're bid. At 11,000, 11,500. Finishing done then. 11,500. We're going to sell with the online bid once at 11,500. At 11,500 twice, all finishing done. We sell this time and away it goes off online at £11,500. Sold at 11.5. Sorry online, you just missed out there. Someone did come in just after the hammer dropped. 19550. Moving down the list we go to lot number 277, 1975 is the year. It's the MG Midget 1500 here. The 1500 MG Midget this time. And where are we going to go? Starting off, no reserve today. Anyone got £1,000 to start me off on the MG Midget? £1,000 surely. Coming in for 1,000. £1,000 to kick it off today. Just 500 and let's get it gone. £500, start me off. Someone's got a bid first, surely. Five's bid, thank you, sir, at 500. We'll go in hundreds. Let's have some fun. Five's bid. At 500 now. 6 is in. £600. At 600 bid, 7. Before you on the phones, at 700 just behind. At £700 we're bid. 8's in online. At £800. 9. At £900, we'll slow it down a bit. £1,000. At 1,000 bid. At £1,000 we're bid now at 1,000. 11. At £1,100 is the bid. All on the telephones at the minute. 12. At 1,200 we're bid. 13 bid, thank you, sir. At £1,300. Gentleman's bid at 1,300. 14. 15. 16, 17. At 1,700, gentleman's bid. At 1,700, 1,700. 18's back in now at £1,800. Would you like to go one more? At 1,800 on the telephone. At 1,800, 1,800. Coming back in. 19's back in now. Thank you very much, sir. At £1,900 we're bid. 2,000. At £2,000. At £2,000 with a telephone bidder now at £2,000. Would you like one more, sir? 2-1? 2-1's back in, thank you very much. At 2001. At 2000, 2001. I'll split it once. 2,150. Would you go 2-2, sir? No, you might have done it. The split bid might have stolen it away. At 2,150, we're on the telephone. Would anyone else like to come in for one more? If not, hammers up and away I sell. So make no mistake, finish and done. On the telephone this time and away it goes at £2,150. Yours, 2150. 2012. Thank you very much. Telephone bidder. Moving on to lot number 278. Lot number 278, this time is the Jaguar 1998 XJR. Lovely 4-litre Jaguar this is. Have a good look at this one. Thank you very much. And we're going to go straight in. I'll go with your bids. They're running off online. 12, 14, 16. 16's bid. 18 coming in, 18 and 2. At 2,000, take it to 2-2 next. No reserve must be sold today for a 4-litre XJR at 2,002, 2426. 28. He's out. 2-8 in the middle. At 2008. 3 bid left-handed. 3-2. At 3,002. Not your bid. 3,002 in the middle. At 3,002 is bid. At 3,002. Would you like one more? 3-4 they do online. 3-6 back in. At £3,600. At 3,000, 3,006. Are we finishing done? At 3,006. 3-8's in. 3-8. At 3,800, Somerset bidder again. At £3,800 is your bid. 4's in and now at 4. At 4,000, 4,000. At 4,000, Cambridgeshire. At £4,000. At 4,000, 4,000. At £4,000, are we finishing done? 4-2. At 4,002. Back to Somerset now. Cambridgeshire, would you like to go again? At 4,002. At 4,200, we're bid now at 4,002. Hammers up and I'm selling. So once, twice, finishing done. With the online bid, it goes once, twice, finishing done at 4,002. It does not. 4,4. At 4,004. At 4,400, we're bid. Say 4,6 if you're coming back in. That was a new bidder entirely then, wasn't it? Somewhere in the United Kingdom with you at £4,400. Underbidders, would you like to go for one more? At 4,400, the hammer's up. At 4,400 once. At 4,400 twice. And I sell at 4,004. Sold. 19722. Moving on to lot number 279, 2015 Mercedes-Benz. It's the E-Class this time. It's the 350 there. Lovely one this is. This is the Blue Tech AMG. I think it looks great. Who's got £3,000 to start? Cheap little motor that is at just £3,000, surely. 3 to kick it off today. Anyone interested at 3? 3,000 to come in. £3,000, surely. You're all thinking about it online. There we go. Thank you. £3,000. Much appreciated. With your bid online at £3,000. Say 3-2 if anyone wants to go again. It's a lot of car for little money at just £3,000. At 3,002. At 3,002 we're bid. At 3,000, 3,002 is the bid now at 3,002. At 3,002 say 3-4 if you wish to go again. At 3,002 was that bid or just? Yeah, 3-4, thank you. Didn't know if you were changing your paper or not. 3-4, 3-6. 3-6 is online. Would you like 3-8? 3-8's bid. Thank you very much, sir. At 3,008, 4 is up top. At £4,000. At 4,000, 4,000. 4-2's in online. At 4,002. Bidding again, sir? 4-4, thank you. At 4,004. Either online or anywhere else at 4,004. Gentleman's bid at the back of the room at 4,004. 4-6 is in online. Telephone's trying to get in as well. The look of disappointment on your face sent him. 4-8's in at 4,008. At 4,800 we're bid. At 4,008. 5's bid, I see you, £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000. Why not? 5-1. 5,001. If we're going to go in hundreds, just make sure your bids are nice and quick. 5-2. 5-2's bid. At 5,002. 5-3's in. Not you online, sorry. 5,003, telephone bidder. At 5,003. At 5,300, 5-4, thank you again. At 5,004. At 5,004, we're bid. At 5,004, waiting for you online. Telephone's in at 5-5. At 5,005. At 5,005, we're bid. 5-6, I see you. Saying 6,000? Why not? 6 is bid. 6,000 bid. I love a jump bid. Saves my voice a little bit. At £6,000. At 6,000, go. 6-2 if we can, Tim. Yeah? 6-2's in. Say 6-4 if you want to go again, sir. At 6,002, we're on the telephone. At 6,002. 6-4's back in. At 6,004. They're out on the telephones. You might have got yourself this one, sir. At 6,004. At 6,004. At 6,400, we're bid now at 6,004. We're finishing done. Would you like one more? 6-5? 6-5, yes, okay. 6-5. Gentleman's back in. 6-5's here already. 6-6. 6-6 is bid. Would you like 6-7? No, he says. At 6,006. At 6,600, would anyone else like to come in on this one? At 6,600, are we finishing done? At 6,006. Last chance. You sure, sir? I'll tell you what, I'll take the 50. I shouldn't, but I will. You've come a long way. 6,650 is bid. At 6,650, 6-7, though they want it. At 6,007. We'll stay in the 50s now, though. At £6,700 we're bid. I think online even tried coming in a minute ago. At 6,007. Yes, they did. At 6,750 is an online bid this time at 6,750. 6-8. At 6,008, another 50? No, he says, no. 6,800. Your bid online, we're looking for you at 6,800. The bid is against you online at 6,008. At 6,800, are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning, 6,850. I'm trying, sir. At 6,850, the online bid's back in. 6,900, thank you very much. At 6,009. At 6,000, 6,009. At 6,900, we're bid. Make it nice and quick online. At 6,009. At 6,009. Do we have an answer? At 6,009. At 6,009, your bid. At 6,009, hammers up once. You sure? They're not online. 6,950's bid. At 6,950. I'm going to go 7,000. I'm going to ask for 7,1 next. No more 50s. At 7,000, gentleman's bid. At 7,000, say 1 if you're coming in. We're going to sell. At 7,000 pounds, your bid, sir. At 7,000 once. At 7,000 twice. Finished and done. At 7,000 pounds, your bid at 7,000. 286, thank you. Moving on to lot number 280, 1987. I love this thing. It's a lovely looking Citroen. It's got great, great character. And I'm going to go over to a better character to explain it. Over to you, Steve.
Un charmant petit camionnette Citroen Blanche, a charming little white Citroen van. Now you're thinking, oh, Steve, that must be an Arcadian, which is a cross between the 2CV Fourgonette, the 2CV van, and the Diane that was meant to replace it. And you'd be absolutely right to think that. And in many ways, the Diane was like the Porsche 928. No, bear with me. In that, the 928 was meant to see off and replace the 911, but the 911 outlived it. Well, of course, the Citroen 2CV outlived the Diane. Can you imagine yourself, perhaps not, but maybe you can, I was going to say, roaring down the highway, but with 602 cc's of air-cooled power underneath the hood? You might not be. Have you ever seen anything more French in your entire life? I don't think so. If you saw Jean-Paul Gaultier on a Vela Selects in a stripy sweater with a ring of onions round his neck, that couldn't be more French than this charming little white van, which is in fantastic condition. And bizarrely, look at the plates on it. It looks like it's straight out of the post-war years. Was made in 1987. These things were in production forever, so no problem getting spare parts. It would make a funky little camper, or I reckon, you can imagine somebody, can't you, selling Le Café and Le Croissants out of the back of here, and if you needed to take some of your stuff with you, it's even got a tow bar to make it even slower than it already is. Salut maintenant, let's go.
Let's go indeed. 1987, the Citroen here. You're straight in online at 3. I'm going to go 3-2, 3-4, 3-6, 3-8 is my bid. I need to see one more. At 3,008, 4 you're in online. Thanking you. I'm out now. At £4,000 we start. Say 2 anywhere else. At 4,000, 4,000. At £4,000 is the bid now at 4,000. At £4,000 on this lovely little Citroen here, at just £4,000. Would anyone like another 2? At £4,000 with the online bid. At 4,000, 4,000. At 4,000, are we finished? Are we done? At just £4,000. Make no mistake here. At 4,000, the bid is online. At 4,000, we're going to count it down then. At just £4,000, it goes once. At 4,000, 4,000. Are we sure and done? Twice. At £4,000. Finishing done then at 4. We'll submit the bid to the vendor there online. £4,000. 8117. That is a provisional bid. Thanking you. Moving on to lot number 281. We've had a lovely selection of German cars and Porsches in today's auction, and we got another one, 1999 911. It's the 996 Carrera 4. Lovely manual example. Anyone start me off? Let's not mess around. I'm going to go straight in at £8,000 with you. At £8,000. At 8,000 we start. Say 8,500 next. At 8,000 is the bid now at 8. At 8,000, 8,000. At £8,000, say 5 for one more. 8,500's in. At 8.5, 9 back to me. At £9,000 we're bid now at 9. At 9,000, 9,000. 9.5. 10 back to my commission bidder. Make it one more if you're coming back in. At £10,000 with me at the minute. At 10,000, 10,005. I'm out. You're in online at £10,500. At 10,005. At 10,000, 10,005 with you online here at 10,005. I'll take the quarter if it helps anyone else come in. At 10,005, the bid is here online. At £10,500. At 10,005. At 10,000, 10,005, are we all finished and done? Would anyone like to have a go on this one? At 10,005, last chance, fair warning. Finished and done then at 10,500 once. 10,500 twice. At 10,500, we'll make the phone call at 10.5. 10.5 to bidder number 1040. That is a provisional 1040. Moving on to lot number 282 this time, 1994 Reliance Scimitar Sabre. Look at that one in the blue there. It's got the azure blue with it as well. Lovely black interior. I'm going to go straight in at just 2, 2.2, 2.4, 2.6 we start. At £2,600 is bid. At 2,000, 2006. Say 2.8 if you wish to go again. At 2,000, 2006. At 2006 we're bid. At 2,000, 2006. Anyone like to go 2.8? At 2006 is the bid now. 2006. You're in at 2008, but I got 3. 3,000's my bid. At £3,000. At 3,000, 3,002. I'm out. You're in online at 3,002. Say 3.4 if anyone else wishes to come in. At 3,002. At 3,002 is the bid now. At 3,002, we finished and done. The bid is here online. At 3,002, would anyone else like to come in for another bite now? At 3,002, all finished and done. Then the last chance in fair warning. At 3,002. At 3,000, 3,200 once. At 3,000, 3,200 twice. All finished and done then at £3,200. Provisionally with you, 1102. 1102, provisional bid there. That is a provisional bid. Thank you. Moving on to lot number 283. Lot number 283. 1972. It's the Austin Sprite 1. One of only 1,000 examples, it says here. Look how great this thing looks. Really, really pretty little car this is. I love these. Lovely Austins. Going to go straight in at 2, 2.2, 2.4, 2.6, 2.8, 3,000. 3.2's bid. We start at 3,002. At 3,002, I believe we have a telephone on this one as well. 3.4's in. 3.6 back to me. At 3,006. At 3,006, say 3.8 if you wish to go again. At 3,006, 3.8's in. I've got 4,000, one more online might do it. At £4,000. 4.2, you're in. I am out. Thank you very much, online bidder. You're in the lead now at 4,002. My commission interest is out at 4,002. At 4,002, say 4.4 if anyone else wishes to come in. 4.4, gentleman's in. At 4,004, thank you, sir. You've been a good bidder today. At 4,004, the bid is with you. At 4,004. At 4,000, 4,004. 4.6 is back in. 4.6. At 4,006. Would you like to go 4.8? 4.8 you do. Thank you again. At 4,008, gentleman's bid in the middle of the room now. At £4,800, we are bid. At 4,008, online, would you like to go 5? Or anywhere else? At 4,008. At 4,008. Did we have a telephone on this one? At 4,008. No answer, okay. At 4,800, gentleman's bid here then. We've got to speed you up. At 4,008, 5's in. At £5,000. 5,000 with the online bid. It's currently in Essex. I'll take 5.1 if it brings you back in, sir. Would you like to go in the hundreds now? 5.1. 5.1's bid. At 5,001. Say 5.2 if you wish to go again. 5.2 you do online. Thank you. At 5,002. 5.3 back in now. Gentleman's bid at 5,003. At 5,003, I mean, just have a good look at it whilst it's going through on the screens above. Look how great that looks. At 5,300 with the gentleman in the room at 5,003. At 5,003. Last chance online in fair warning. Got to be fair to the gentleman here. At 5,003 is your bid. Are we finished? Are we done? Once. At 5,004. 5.4's bid. Are you sure? At 5,004. I'll tell you what. It's on sale, sir. I'll take 50 if it brings you back in. Are you sure? I'm going to sell it to the online bid and away it goes. At 5,004. Thank you very much for your bidding, though. I appreciate it. At 5,004. 5,500. Telephone sneaking in now at 5,005. I reckon that might have been the telephone bidder that we couldn't connect to. At 5,005. Online, would you like to go 5,600? Is your bid already on the phone? At 5,005. Telephone bid and selling to the telephone bidder at 5,000. I think it's already your bid. Took the bid whilst he was running down. At 5,005. Bit of confusion there. At 5,500, it's on the telephone to be sold once, twice, finished and done. Selling. Sold. Telephone. 2006, 2006. Moving on to lot number 284. 284 is the 1992. It's the Rover Mini, the British Open Classic. Look at that one there. Looks great. Lovely colour. I'm going to go straight in at £3,000. Say 3-2 next. 3-2. 3-4. 3-6. I'm going to go 3-8 and 4, but I'll take 4-2 to come back in. 4-2. My interest is out. You're in at 4,002. Gentleman's bid at 4,002. At 4,200 in the middle room. 4-4's in online. At 4-4, 4-6. 4-6 is bid. Say 4-8 next if you're coming back in online or anywhere else. At 4,006. 4-8's bid. Can I say 5 just behind? 5-2, 5-2. 5-3. 5-3, okay, making it hard. 5-3. 5-4. 5-5. 5-6. Shakes the head. Your bid, sir, at 5,006. At 5,006, would anyone else like to go 5-7? At 5,006. 5-7, they say yes, please, online. 5-8. At 5,008. Online, would you like to go 5-9? 5-9, they do, thank you. 6,000's bid. At 6,000, 6,000. 6-1. 6-2. At 6,002. At 6,000, 6,200, we're bid now at 6,002. Online, make it nice and quick if you're coming back in. 6-3, thank you very much. At 6,003, 6-4's gone in online already. 6-5. I'll put the hammer up for you, all right, at 6,005, thank you very much. At 6,005 once. At 6,005, 6-6, 6-7. There's a few of them. It's the fret of the hammer gets them going sometimes. At 6,007. At 6,007, 6,008. At 6,000, 6,009. At 6,009 is the bid now at 6,009. It's in the market to be sold today, so make no mistake. Lovely little Mini this is. Find another like this one. At 6,009 is your bid now at 6,009. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in, fair warning. 7's in now at 7. At £7,000 in 1. At 7,001. At 7,001 with the online bid now at 7,001. Are we done? Are we dusted? At 7,001. Hammers up. At 7,100 with you online now. At 7,100 once. At 7,100 the bid then twice. 7-2. Thank you very much. At 7,002. At 7,200 the bid then once, twice. Finished and done. 7-3. 7-3. I'm trying. At 7,003. At 7,300 a bid. 7-4. 7-4's back in. Hammers up. At 7,004 once. At 7,400 twice. 7-5. At 7,005. At 7,500 is the bid now at 7,005. Are we done? Are we dusted? Hammers up. We're going to sell with the online bid this time in a way then at 7,500 once. 7-6 back in. Make it nice and quick online. At 7,006 once, twice. Finished and done at 7,006. Sold at £7,600. Thank you very much. What was your paddle number there? You were in all the way. Thank you. I really appreciate it. 284. Moving on to lot number 285. This is a little bit different, isn't it? I can't say I've seen this one. 1999 Volkswagen T4. Look at that. 2.5 TDI on it. Oh, I wish I had a good look around this one. Must have missed it. Let's go in straight away. 3,000's bid. £3,000 we start. At 3,000 here. The T4 camper van and that's what we have. 3,000's bid. T4. At £3,000. At 3,000, 3,000. 3,200. At 3,002 is bid. At 3,200 is the bid now at 3,002. Say 3,400 if you're coming in. At 3,002. Lovely little van this is at just 3,002. I'm out already. Would you like to go for one more? At 3,002, are we finishing done? Last chance in fair warning. The bid is here online at 3,002. Once, twice. Finishing done then at just 3,002. That is provisional. We are a little way off online. We will still make that phone call for you. 1096, wasn't it? Yes, 1096, provisional. Another number plate in today's sale is lot number 286, registration number 674AJO. Look at that one there. You're in. 1. I've got loads of bids on this one a minute. Let's go 2, 250, 3, 354, 455, 550 I start. I'll take 600. At 550 is the bid. 6 is bid. My interest is out already. At £600. At 6 is the bid now. 600, 600. At £600 we are bid. Would anyone else like to go 50? It's in the market to be sold. At £600, are we finished? Are we done? Last chance, fair warning, selling this time and away it goes. At £600. 650's in. 7. 7's the bid. At 700, 700. At £700 we are bid now at 7. Are we finishing done? At 700, 700 once. At 700, 700 twice. Hammers up and away it sells at £700. Whoa, 750, 800's bid. At 800 a bid. 800 is your bid now at 8. 850's in and away at 859. Don't miss out, bid fast on these. If we're only in £50, shouldn't need time to think. At 900 is the bid now at 9. Finishing done then once, twice, and I sell. This time online, 950. 950, 950, 950. Say 1,000 if you're coming back in. At 950, the bid is here online. Once, twice, finishing done. I'm going to sell at £950, finished and done. Sold at 950. Thank you very much, Nick. Moving on to lot number 287's up next. Lot number 287, 2010 in a year. Chevrolet Camaro SS. Look at that. Great looking muscle car. Look how angry and mean this thing looks. I love a good Camaro. And we're straight in at 6. I'm going to go 6.5 and 7. 7's my bid. Say 5 next. On the Camaro here at 7,005. 8,000 back to me at £8,000. Say 5 for one more. At 8,000, 8,005. 8,005, going to have to go 9 with me at £9,000. Go 9.5. At 9,000 is the bid now at 9,000. 9.5. 10 back to me, but one more might do it online at £10,000. Coming back in for the 5. 10.5 you do. My commission interest is out at 10,005. At 10,000, 10,005, we're bid now at 10,005. At 10,005. At 10,005, the bid is online. At 10,005, are we finishing done? Last chance in fair warning on this one. At 10,500, are we sure? There's a lot of car for little money there. It's just 10,005. We'll count it down then. At 10,500 once. At 10,500 twice. All finishing done. Online bid has it at 10,005. Provisionally with you, 1096. 1096, that is a provisional bid. And we'll see what we can do. We are a little way off. Moving on to lot number 288, 1967. I love one of these. It's 1967. It's the Hillman Imp, California. Look at that one there. Have a good look. Looks absolutely great. I'm going to go straight in. I've got 9.5. You've got 10. 10's bid. 10,000 on the Imp. At 10,000, say 5. At 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. At 10,000, 5's in and away. At 10,005 and 11 back to me. £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000. Are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning then. At £11,000 with my commission interest at the minute. £11,000. Say 5. 11.5. My interest is out. Thank you very much to whoever left that bid. But the bid's online now. 11,005. At 11.5, 11.5, 11.5. At 11,005 we're bid. At 11,005, are we finishing done at £11,500? At 11.5. At 11,500, all finished, all done. Last chance, fair warning. The bid's here online. Goes once, goes twice. Finishing done at £11,500. 1063, £11,500. We'll submit a bid. Right. We are moving down the list. We go to lot number 289. It's the last ride home, isn't it? The last lot of the day. And it's a 2007, it's a Ford Focus. It's not just any Ford Focus, it's the ST500, one of only 500 produced. These are quite monstrous machines, got quite a good engine in them, pretty rapid. And we're going to go straight in at £2,500, £3,000 we start. At £3,000 here on the ST500. At 3,005? 3,500, thank you. We'll say 4 next. At 3,005. At 3,000, 3,005 on the telephone. At 3,005, coming in for the 4. At 3,005, we're bid now at 3,005. A modern day fast forward. This is more of a modern classic, this one is. I'm sure it's going to rock it off one day. At 3,005. I'll take the 750 now. I shouldn't need to, but we've got to be fair to the telephone bidder. At 3,005. At 3,005, we're bid. At 3,000, 3,005. Are we finished and done? We'll submit the bid, so make no mistake. At 3,500 on Damien's telephone, once, twice, 3,750. Staffordshire didn't want to let the bargain go. Say 4. At 3,750 is the bid now at 3,750. I'll tell you what, I'll meet you in the middle, 3,900. 3,850. We'll go 3,800. I'll take 3,800, then we'll go 3,900 for the next bidder. 3,800's on the telephone. At 3,800. At 3,800 is the bid. Online, would you like to come back in for one more? They're playing tactical games on the phone now. At 3,800. At 3,000, 3,008. We'll count it down then. Once at 3,800, twice, all finished and done at just 3,800. Make no mistake, at £3,800. Provisionally with you on the telephone at £3,800. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, that is them all done today. Let's just run through a quick couple of things. We've got our next auction down in Hampshire on the 7th of March. We're back up north again on the 10th and 11th of April. Don't forget, we've got timed bi-weekly auctions now. Every Thursday, rather than every Thursday, they've just moved to every fortnight. Thank you very much to all those bidders and consigners who got the cars in and the bikes in yesterday. It's been an absolute pleasure again. And I look forward to seeing you all down at Barron's next time. Thank you very much for bidding, and goodbye for now. I had to